What up, guys? Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, if you will, because I have been missing my Friday happy hour streams for various reasons, mostly having to do with me being on an airplane or last week being at James Lindsay's workshop in Tampa. I decided just to pop on to do a quick impromptu special edition happy hour live stream because it's hump day. It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week already. And you know what? Who couldn't use a little bit of a happy hour to get them through the rest of the week? So if you have never joined my happy hour live streams before, we're actually simulcasting on like 4 different platforms right now. I have, of course, my main channel on YouTube. I'm also simulcasting this on my second channel on YouTube called Actively Unwoke. If you have not yet subscribed to Actively Unwoke, it's youtube.com/actively unwoke. Aptly. And it's a channel I'm going to be building out specifically to give people tools and strategies to helping them deal with the woke nonsense in their lives. And eventually, I'm probably going to move happy hour over to Actively Unwoke. But for right now, we're going to do it on both just so the content will be on both and I don't need to re-upload or do any of those fancy things. So you're welcome to watch it on either of them. I am also simulcasting this on Odyssey and on Rockfin. So making sure we have our non-YouTube platforms up there because we need to be supporting alt tech and library and Odyssey/library. I think it's Odyssey today, but you know, it's built on library. Odyssey is my favorite YouTube alternative. I also really like Rockfin. I think they're both great YouTube alternatives. And then of course, we have you have my community on locals where we always have our videos there. All right, guys. So if you've never been to a happy hour before, we do things a little bit differently on happy hour. Happy hour is a time for us to kind of blow off some steam, mock some woke nonsense. What we're going to do is we're going to watch a training for this training. I'm assured is going to be a doozy too. So we're going to watch a diversity training, a critical race theory training. We're going to mock it relentlessly. I'm going to be reacting to it live and we're just going to make fun of it and we're going to have a grand old time. Now, if you have a drink, now is the time to bust it out. I'm going to be honest. I'm not drinking alcohol today. I'm not. I have a soda that shall remain nameless in my locals cup. I will not be getting drunk today because the truth is I don't actually drink all that often except if I'm drinking for happy hour on Fridays. But I still promise to be uppity even though I'm not drinking wine or beer today. And we will resume the routine on Friday when I will have a few drinks because that's fun. How is it happy hour? It just is, Adrian. It just is. Happy hour is perpetual. Happy hour is a spirit. It is not an alcohol. It is a spirit. All right. Let's see. What else do you need to know? Oh, you got to make sure you download your Unwoke Bingo card because we play Unwoke Bingo during happy hour. All you need to do is go to the page. It's pinned on the YouTube channels. It is in the description on the other channels and click generate your bingo card. You will get a unique bingo card that is unique to you. And every time you hear these words, just click off your square. What we're doing with Unwoke Bingo is we're either going for a line or we're going for the 4 corners. If you get your bingo, just chat it in bingo. You win absolutely nothing from doing it except you get bragging rights. And then once someone gets a regular bingo, then we go for blackout bingo. Just a little way to help us pass the time as we work our way through this training. Also, this training is brought to you, or this happy hour rather, is brought to you by my locals community. There are many people from my locals community here in the chat today. Locals is the best. It is the best place on the internet. There are no trolls. We help and support each other. We make fun of these woke things all the time. I can neither confirm or deny if there's coke in my locals. I can neither confirm or deny. Come on, mind your own business. So if you want to join my locals community, what you're going to get is you're going to get all my videos ad-free. You're not going to have to watch them with 8,000 ads like YouTube puts on them. You are going to get 2 community Zoom calls every single week where we basically sit around for about 3 hours and shoot the shit. We do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're also going to get access to my debate club, which we are having a debate club on Saturday. We've got a rousing debate with 2 of my locals members who are going to square off on whether or not we should be banning critical race theory as a matter of dealing with the problem. You're going to get book club. We are reading The Fountainhead in my book club. We will be doing book club about a month from now. So get your copy of The Fountainhead. Time to start reading it or listening to the 35-hour audiobook. We also do craft and bitch calls. We do a lot of stuff in my locals, and we're only going to be doing more and more and more. It's a community built around authentic engagement, and, you know, it's awesome. It gives me hope and faith that the internet is still a place where we can all exist and be human on some level. So definitely make sure you join my locals. You can join it for free to try it out, kb.locals.com. Here we go. But if you want to be a supporter and help support the work I'm doing, you can join monthly for $5 a month, or you can join annually for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months off. And that opens up all of those features that I just talked about. And again, really helps me out as we are, spending hours together doing trainings and stuff like that. That time's got to come from somewhere. And my local supporters make sure that I have the ability to do this sort of stuff and to work on the book I've been writing and I'll do all those things. So kb.locals.com. Can't wait to see you guys there. All right. Does everyone have their unwoke bingo card? Is everyone ready to go? Type Y into the chat if you are ready to start our happy hour, and we will get the video up and running, and I will tell you about it in a second. Share screen, Chrome tab, share audio, which is the important part. Today, we're going to be watching, let me just put this into theater mode to make it even bigger. We are going to be watching, it's funny because literally 5 minutes before this started, Chris Rufo sent out a tweet. Let me just pull up the tweet that he sent specifically, and I'm going to have to take a closer look at what he said later, but Chris Rufo, literally 20 minutes ago, sent out a tweet that says the 10 largest school districts in Washington state are teaching critical race theory, receipts attached. Well, guess what, Chris? We have the receipts to witness it ourselves, because today we are going to be watching a training that took place back in April from the Portland Public Schools. That is Portland, as in Oregon. Well, it's just one state over, but you know what? Hey, we close enough. Where they're all woke there. They're all fucking woke. So we're gonna be watching Portland Public Schools, and we're gonna see what they have to say. And I think we can get started. I don't have any other announcements. Anyone else got anything for the good of the order, or are we ready to get started? Type Y into that chat if you're ready to go. Am I a fan of Rand? I mean, I wish she used a little bit less words, to be honest. I wish the books were a little bit shorter, but they're good. I wish there wasn't a 60-page goddamn soliloquy in Atlas Shrugged. But the books are good. I appreciate the principles. I don't always agree with her. All right, we're going to get started. Please make sure to tell me if my sound... Oh, actually, I always forget to change the sound to go through my headphones before I get this started. Hang on. All right, let me know if the sound doesn't work. Let's kick it off.
So much for joining us again. My name is Karina Ruiz. I am a principal at Brick Architecture, and we are honored to serve as the district's partner in this long-range planning effort. So you'll see various members of our team here. Welcome everyone back to the important work that we're going to do tonight in our summit. So we have a 3-hour summit. We've promised to put both brain breaks and bio breaks in, so that way we can make it through this 3 hours together. But I encourage you, if ever you need to, go grab some water, grab some snacks. We hope this will be a highly engaging session. We encourage you to try and be as present as possible. I know the world is distracting us from all angles, but if you could possibly kind of minimize as many of those distractions as you can. If there's not a lot of noise in your house, by all means, please unmute yourself so that way you can be an active part of the conversation. And we're just really excited to do this work with you today. Marnie, will you share screen, please? Okay. So I'm just kind of going to orient you to what our plan is going to be for the day. Obviously, we're here primarily to focus on establishing and digging deeper into those, reviewing the sociospatial issues, and then having a conversation and generating those into ideas that will become what we call our facility planning characteristics. So will you go to the next page, please?
It does seem a little odd. They don't have a land blessing.
So we're sage fairly quickly here, and Lana are going to lead us off in an icebreaker activity, and then we're going to immediately kind of get to know each other a little bit better. We'll focus on revisiting.
Who wants to bet? Who wants to bet the icebreaker activity is going to have to do with something woke? If you believe that the icebreaker activity is going to have to do with something woke, like them confessing when they've been racist or saying their pronouns or something like that, type Y into the chat. If you want to bet the icebreaker activity has nothing to do with being woke, type N into the chat and let's see who's right. I think I'm going to vote for woke. I think I am. I think I'm going to vote for woke, but we'll see. Patrice says, I said land blessing. It must be true.
The
it is odd they didn't do a land blessing.
And then really set the stage for the work of the coalition. Talk about kind of what are our grounding documents, what is the role of the long range or the purpose of the long range facilities plan. I don't think we were as clear in kind of setting that in its appropriate context last time. So we want to be sure we're clear about what it is and what it isn't, and then define the purview of our work here together, right? So we've been able to take and present the sociospatial issues that we presented last time and address some of the comments that we heard to bring those back to you as kind of the final version, if you will, of those that will form the foundation of all of our work moving forward. So that will be basically the backdrop under which we now start to transform to what are the listening and learning lessons that we got relative to how we might solve some of the problems that were identified in some of those issues. And we'll do that together. We will be in a series of breakout rooms and we'll move around. We'll get you back in Miro and kind of orient people to that. So I think the idea is to get us started in that way. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Sage to allow us to get into our icebreaker.
Yeah, thank you. Our icebreaker this time, we're going to break into small groups and discuss a question to get to know each other a little bit better. Lana is going to go over the question here.
Hey everyone. The question we have for our icebreaker today is, what inspires you to work for equity and social justice? So I'll take a shot at answering.
If you answered woke, go ahead and give yourself another free square on that bingo. You can pick out any square you want, but it's the honor system. Give yourself a free square if you selected that it was going to be a woke icebreaker.
This question, and then Sage will take a shot at answering it, and then we'll go into our breakout rooms. So what inspires me to work for equity and social justice is the idea of radical wellness. I think the occupation of a marginalized body in America just carries that implication already of not only trauma, but grief and this kind of isolation and sense of otherness. So when I say I work for radical wellness, I work for the idea that those in marginalized communities can have this sense of well-being and comfort and support to move past not only these traumas and this legacy of kind of the American history behind our identities, but to move forward to a future in which they can.
Equity is about moving beyond the history and traumas of our racial identities. She said something like that, move beyond what does it say? Traumas and legacy of American history behind our identities. So they're trying to move beyond the trauma that American history has caused them and their oppressed identities. Okay.
Can embody the kind of wellness and success and hope that they deserve. But yeah, I'll pass this off to Sage to give it a shot.
Yeah, my answer to the question would just be that I constantly see within my social structures and within my peers the effects of systemic oppression, and just seeing that on its own makes me want to fight it, makes me want to create some change.
You notice he gives absolutely zero answers about how he sees systemic oppression, only that he sees systemic oppression, and that must be enough for all of us. We don't even know how systemic oppression is even defined yet, P.S. And apparently they're having some sort of facilities planning meeting to talk about how do they deal with systemic oppression when they haven't even defined it.
And I think that with that, I'm going to pass it back to Marty here. We can go into our breakout rooms.
Okay, so I'm going to
maybe we should burn some
screen.
stage.
I gave you the question in the chat,
I
which
have
will go
Sage
with
right
you, and
here.
I will also send it with
Boom.
you. I am going to send you into groups of 2. You should go automatically, and you have about
I wonder how this is
5
going to show up on
minutes.
the recording.
So just kind of watch your time and take 2.5 minutes each to just share and get to know each other. It's as if this is a little face-to-face meeting we get to have, even though we're virtual. If anybody joined after I created these rooms, I'll place you after I send everyone. Is everybody okay?
I kind of want to
Hold
hear
on to
their
your seats, I'm
conversations.
about to send
I
you.
do. I want to hear someone's conversation that they're going to have in their safe space. I'm going to burn some sage here just for shits and giggles. Oh,
I love it.
oh, they're
Me
back.
too.
Okay, good.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So how did that feel? I'd love to hear from a couple of you. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me what struck you about that.
Yes, what was striking?
I'll jump in. Sage is awesome. We
Sage
talked
is
about the
awesome.
intersection of critical race theory and computer science, which is
What?
his kind of major interests. Both
The intersection of critical race theory and computer science. Okay.
his major interests right now, and boy, that would be a project.
Oh,
Just because that computer thinking so permeates everything we do. It is in our
I thought we weren't teaching critical race theory in schools, and now they're integrating it with computer science. Okay.
architecture.
It is. Very much.
That needs to be kind of deconstructed. So
My sage won't light on fire.
thank you. And thank you, Scott, for stepping up and creating our space together. You just made it okay for everyone else to join in. I appreciate that.
Wow.
Would anybody else like to?
Personally, I was in a breakout room with Abby, and I thought it was interesting how we had these, obviously we had the same perspective of wanting everyone to feel comfortable in these spaces, and that's the same reason that we are interested in social justice and racial equity. But the
Yes,
fact that we
computer
came
science is
from
now
two very
racist.
different perspectives, one is like a student versus a parent/architect. So I thought that was interesting.
Amazing. Isn't that what it's all about?
These people have no life in them at all.
How about
no
one
life.
more? We have just about 1 more minute.
I can go. This is Octavio. I was sharing with Amanda, and I just loved her answer, which was, I just give a leap. Which I thought was very similar to kind of what I was thinking, and I was like trying to make it much
There
more
we go.
long-winded,
Now
but at
it's
the end
up
of the day, it
cooking.
turns out that I'm an architect. Amanda works in real estate, and we just think that there's just, our fields just touch so much that I think it's important that we all just give a bleep about this work, because it's important work and it's part of our responsibility.
Okay, let's just keep in mind, this is a school. This is a public school, and their big reason for doing the work is I just give a fuck. And everyone should give a fuck. And if you don't give a fuck, then you like then you know, I just don't even know. Like, that's their main reason. That's their main reason they are undertaking. How much does this meeting cost? There are a lot of people on this meeting. And their only reason for doing it is they give a fuck. Okay.
As you know, creators of the built environment. So
Thank you so much. I love what you said, which sets me up perfectly for what we're going to do next.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You are
Couple non-white
creating the
people.
environment. You've all just created this container by sharing and by lending your voice to your thoughts. And so I just shared my screen, and we are going to revisit our group agreements. So over the course of this CRT coalition, from the very first time we met, we created the beginning of this list. So if you all just take a look at it. So any that speak to you, think creatively.
Hang on. Let's just read them real quick, because they have a tendency on these trainings not to actually read what's on the slides. So this is take space, make space. Listen to hear and not to speak. Accept non-closure. They say when they say accept non-closure, what they basically are saying is that you're not going to get the answers you like, and you need to be okay with not getting the answers that you like. Be willing to do things differently. Think creatively. Explain acronyms. Be comfortable with discomfort. They're basically saying be comfortable with discomfort. Like they've already said it like 3-4 times on the list. Stories stay. Lessons can be shared. Well, I think we're going to be sharing everything today because you guys recorded it and put it on the internet. Speak your truth. Keep it personal. Try to avoid speaking for someone else. Listen without judgment. They said that earlier. Give affirmations. Appreciate vulnerability. Recognize and appreciate your airtime. I'm not sure exactly what that's. Youth airtime? I have no idea what that means. Avoid jargon to keep the conversation inclusive. Recognize the intent is different than impact, value, and respect the work that has been generated to date. So someone says in the chat there is robotic as Stepford wives. They really are. They really are. And that's honestly one of the things that's like so disturbing to me about watching these trainings an awful lot of the time is that they have no life in them. They're like robots. They're like pod people. If you haven't watched Invasion of the Body Snatchers lately, go watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers because it looks exactly like these people, except it's like this is real. This is real life. This happened in April, a couple months ago.
Explain acronyms. We're working on that. Listen without judgment. These are all ideas of how we're going to show up together. And they're our group agreements or our ground rules. So we created this as a team and we are holding each other and ourselves to this list. And so every time we meet, we will add to it, knowing the things that have come.
Maybe we should start. So I had an idea for my locals a while ago and I never kind of acted on it because I was just busy doing other stuff. But maybe we should start a movie night in my locals and we should watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think that would be a good idea.
Before, knowing how we've been together so far, knowing how you've met with other people in your life and want to show up here. So just let me know if there is anything that you would like to add to this, and I'm going to update it as we go, and I'll add it to our Miro board in a moment. Just give you a minute to look over it. And again, just unmute yourself and let me know if there's something we should add or address.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing for us to consider is that the topics that we're talking about can be hard for folks, can bring trauma and be hurtful for some folks. And so we just want to be sure that
this is a public school meeting. Why are we discussing on Zoom in public topics that could bring trauma onto people? That is grossly irresponsible.
We've captured whatever it is that you need to feel as safe and as brave as you can to bring your best self to the topic. So if there's something you need, please let us know.
Oh, they're adding more rules.
Typing in front of everyone is very triggering.
Oh,
these topics can be hard and hurtful. We're going to do everything we can.
Did you hear that? Typing in front of everyone is very triggering. How do these people deal with it in the world? I don't understand.
To bring our best selves to the discussion.
Wait, no, that rule is directly contradictory. So the topics can be hard and hurtful. Do everything we can to bring our best selves to the discussion. That is directly contradictory with rule number 14, which is recognize that intent is different than impact. It does not matter if you intend to bring your best self to the discussion. If you hurt someone's feelings, the impact of those hurt feelings are greater. That rule is in direct contradiction to a previous rule. They are not, and that is directly contradicting rule number 15, which is value and respect the work that has been generated to date. They just generated a new rule that does not respect the previous rule.
Yeah. Scott just put in the chat, Marnie, extend grace. We all need it in these times.
Thank you. I will grab that from the chat.
Got a couple super chats coming in. Bebop J, FYI, that Time Magazine conservative case for CRT article. What I didn't say it was written by a conservative. I said that it was presenting the conservative case, which is similar to the other cases that have been presented. So yeah, it doesn't actually matter if it was written by a conservative. If it's presenting the same case that all the other conservatives are presenting. It's about the case that they're making, not about the inclination of the author. And other conservatives are indeed presenting that case because conservatives are nothing more than progressives driving the speed limit. Give it a couple of years, all conservatives are going to be in favor of CRT because they have no original thoughts of their own. They only think about being against whatever the left is doing until they can't fight against it anymore. Six Semper Tyrannius says, glad I joined locals. Yesterday's discussion conversation with different views and not an echo chamber. Sorry, kept muting. Was at work driving. Hey, I'm glad you made it into locals. Yeah, we had a great call yesterday. We do 2 Zoom calls a week. So everyone should join locals and check out our Zoom calls because they're pretty awesome.
Pop it in there. Nope. I won't. Okay. I will type it.
Anyone else?
Oh, this is so
Can
painful.
we address
this
the
is so
semi-private
like I feel
situation that exists between Immersion Magnet and the local school?
Yeah, Jenny, so we'll get into right now kind of setting ourselves in the context of what things are kind of in our.
Does anyone notice that we actually have no idea what this meeting is even about yet? They're setting all these woke rules and have done a woke icebreaker, and we don't even know what the dang meeting is about yet.
Purview and what things aren't, right? So bear with us for
like the very first thing you should do, like when you're at work and starting a meeting, is that you should set a goal for the meeting. You should talk about what the meeting is about and what you hope to accomplish. You don't do a woke icebreaker and then write 16 woke rules before even discussing what the meeting is talking about. We're already 11 minutes into this meeting. Time is money.
1 minute, I promise you we'll start having those conversations. So thank you for that.
Yes, and right now we're kind of looking at how we will show up in this space tonight. So we're going to spend about 3 hours together. So how do you want to be
3 hours?
And how do you see yourself treating each other? So
I was promised an hour and a half. Three. This is so cringe. Can you imagine if every organization ran meetings like this?
We're sort of giving ourselves boundaries and holding each other to it. One that I've been adding kind of lately is hold each other accountable to our group agreements. I'm going to add that.
Oh my God, they just keep going. Hold each other accountable to our group agreements. Awesome. Extend grace, which is, again, extending grace is directly contradictory to Rule 14.
Feel like is glaringly missing. What would make you feel safe speaking in this space tonight?
If you need 18 different rules to feel comfortable speaking your mind in a space, that's probably not a space you should be speaking your mind in, and you should go run to the other direction and maybe go to the bar or join my locals where you don't have to agree to 18 different rules in order to speak your mind.
One thing that my team has been doing since we all went home and started working from bedrooms is flexible and forgiving.
How is that different than extend grace? How is that not contradictory to rules 14 and 15 as we've already discussed? And how is that not contradictory? I mean, it's affirmed with rule number 11 too, and rule number 10. These people are just repeating themselves. Oh, someone's probably got a safe space bingo in that one, yeah.
If you kind of close your eyes and think of that time where you felt really, really safe in a team and you felt like you could really voice your opinion, how would you describe that? And is it missing from our list? And know that this lives in our Miro board, which we will all be in a moment, and we revisit it each time we meet. So you can kind of be thinking of these.
It is a perpetual
as how we're
safe
going to
space.
treat each other. We are going to recognize and appreciate youth airtime. We're going to make sure
What
that
does that
everyone
even
has
mean?
equal airtime.
Hang on. What does that even mean? We're going to recognize and appreciate youth airtime. I don't understand why they have a specific thing for youth airtime. Does anyone have a clue on that one?
Yeah, I like to say that is make space, take space, make space, give space. So recognize if maybe you're doing all of the talking in your room, and notice if people aren't. So maybe ask for others' opinions.
Oh, because they were doing breakout
Be
sessions.
comfortable
That's why
with
it's so long.
discomfort.
Marnie, we have in the chat, take a break when you need to.
Take a break when you need to. Thank you. Okay, how do you all feel?
I feel perfectly safe continuing with this meeting. Thank you.
All right, this will be our list. If anytime you want to revisit, just let me know. And I'm going to click out of that box. So that's our list for April 20th.
Can you imagine if they got into a struggle session and during the struggle session, they started adding new rules to the list in order to manage the struggle session? That would be hilarious. I want to find a struggle session like that.
22nd, Earth Day, 2021.
Thank you, Marnie.
That's good, Marnie.
Thanks. Okay.
Okay, so like I said, it's important for us to kind of set the stage for the work of the CRT Coalition.
The CRT
So
Coalition.
obviously our work is grounded in PPS's educational vision, which is PPS Reimagined. This is one of the documents that's linked on our Miro board. Next, Marnie. This is one of the documents that's linked on our Miro board, and most specifically to the statements that the district has created as part of this vision relative to, what are the most important things for us to consider kind of in the context of the direction that the district is going, right? Our role, as you'll hear, isn't to change the vision or to impact the vision, but rather to work within the context of what is stated in PPS Reimagined. And then further, to also look at, next, the work that Portland Public Schools has already done, the great work they've done in terms of establishing and implementing consistently a racial equity and social justice lens, right? The long-range facility plan is grounded in the work that precedes us, the vision, and specifically the Res-J lens being kind of chief among those. And really, what we think about when we think about the district's Res-J lens is that it's a critical tool that we can use to think about the district's varying systems, right? We've talked about kind of the rings that are within that and how we'll interact with that, but essentially ensuring that we can provide students with as varied, as equitable experience as possible, to alleviate any burdens and provide benefits and outcomes for them, especially foregrounding those in the underserved communities, right? And I think it's clear, or what I want to make clear is that while we are working in the context of this lens, it's not included in our scope to reconstruct or to retool.
So I just want to know, I was trying to do a Google search to find this document. I couldn't find it offhand. Oh, they have a link to it. Jeez, why didn't I look there first? I did find a different document though. Hang on, let me just see if I can find this document real quick. Oh, this seems to be from like 2012. Yeah, I can't find it right this second, but if anyone else can find it, please ping me, because I would like to look at this specific document, and I'll keep trying as we're watching. Yeah, and smash that like button or mount the like button. We say mount the like button on the channel, but mount that like button if you have not already, folks. Thank you.
This lens. We're just working with it as it exists, and so. You'll see here, and these again are linked in the work plan, but the kind of belief statements that the district has relative to what they want to be able to accomplish from a Res-J lens. Next. Yeah, so I'm going to spend any questions about that? before I go into the specifics of what a long-range facilities plan is, what this acronym that we're working with is? Okay. So I think it's important, you know, we keep talking about our lane, even just internally among our team, because a long-range facilities plan, it's important for us to be grounded in the context of what it is and what it isn't. And knowing that there are PPS initiatives, there are various
What does this have
initiatives
to do with
across Portland
anything?
Public Schools, both completed, underway.
Hang on, I'm
and
fast forwarding. What does
for
this
us
even
to
have to
really
do with
think about
anything?
what that means.
Why does this have to do with critical
and then
race theory?
environment.
Are they just,
Policies around
what does this have to do?
that
I'm
stuff's not
fast
in our-
forwarding. We need to find something relevant.
How facilities
bonds over the course of the next.
I'm not watching a facilities meeting. You promised me critical race theory. We had to find something else.
Important to know that they really were, they were done in affinity group settings, but it was really intended to take that work and then use that as the foundation of our conversations moving forward. And so as we introduced the sociospatial issues to you last week, those all came directly out of those listening and learning sessions. And so the most important aspect of that is you will see as we move our work forward that we have tried to remain as true as possible to the words that we heard come out of those. And then that's what we're presenting you as a starting point. And then it's now your job as a CRIT coalition to help us add to those words, to help us shape them
to you moving forward.
Okay.
But you can see, we can start, Marnie, thank you. You can see that we have left the kind of original form that we had and then changes that came directly from our work last time where people.
Oh, there it is, isn't it? We found it. We found it. Okay. Emerging sociospatial issues. Number 1, tributes to white dominant narratives. Iconography, visual images, and symbols in the forms of statues, murals, mascots, combined with other tributes to people and history, like naming of a building, act to perpetuate and celebrate white dominant narratives in school space. The history and historical connotations that come with the symbols have portrayed in the school atmosphere and that are used in academic spaces can have racial implications and racist implications. High school student. Where do you think that high school student learned that from?
Asked for different language to be clarified or just some words to be switched out. So this was the first one, tribute to white dominant narrative, and the changes we made based on your recommendations. Next one.
I mean, this is, you know what we're watching right now? This is an example of critical race theory in practice, isn't it? This isn't teaching critical race theory. This is an example of them actually implementing critical race theory as part of their facilities plan. Of all things, I never thought I would watch something that was like actually about critical race theory being implemented with a facilities plan, but I suppose it makes sense, especially in a place like Portland.
Some clarification on what BIPOC meant. Next.
BIPOC, bingo.
Change some language here to be more concrete and specific and tangible about what this particular issue was inviting us to acknowledge.
Gatekeeping.
One change there.
Gatekeeping is a white supremacy word.
So in working at this school community divide, what we did was offer limited family and community access to sort of get at that theme.
Okay.
No changes were asked here. We changed rigid to inflexible and hoping that would be a little bit more accessible and easier to problem solve around. Moving towards conventional classrooms, we talked last time about individualistic was really meant to get at sort of
They removed the word individualistic from classrooms. So when they're planning for classroom spaces, again, this is public schools, Portland Public Schools, traditional spatial arrangements encourage cooperative and collaborative pedagogies, limit student agency, and restrict the agility needed to foster diverse learning communities. I feel like the rows of desks and chairs in classrooms where you're all separate, it's like you're listening to the teacher. You're not working with teammates. It's not a community-based learning environment. Classrooms are not supposed to be community-based learning environments. Classrooms are environment run by teachers. It's like everyone's by themselves trying to learn, having the teacher basically lecture. It's something I don't like. This is from a high school student. I mean, I want to go back and read some of these other quotes right now. Hang on. I want to go back and just read some of these other quotes that have come through. We saw that already. I'm all about these are all quotes. These are all quotes from high school students. Let's just wrap our heads around this. How are these high school students learning this? I'm all about decolonization and going back to your roots. I think it'd be really cool if the architecture of schools could be like the architecture from our past. I would really love for an actual effort in architecture to make students feel like, yes, this is my school. This is where I can find my community and parts of my heritage. I think that'd be really cool. What does that have to do with decolonization? Nothing. My school can feel kind of cold. It's all modern. That's not particularly woke. One of the schools I used to work at was like a fortress. Every time you went out on the playground and anytime you left the building, you got locked out, and there was always this run around and getting in badges, and none of the parents had badges, blah, blah, blah. So they're basically, you know what I'm seeing in a lot of this? And I actually think that this is really sad. What I'm seeing in these quotes is basically high school students saying, we want a place where we can feel like we belong. And at the same time, they're framing everything in critical race theory, which is essentially designed to keep people apart. It's to keep people separated. And so you have these students that are telling them in the language that they know how to use, the language that they have been taught by these adults who are acting so irresponsibly. They're trying to tell them, we want to just feel like we belong. We want to feel comfortable. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But because they frame everything in terms of race, they're always going to be it's always going to go horribly awry. Look at this. Like even this, like, they're talking about just like rearranging classrooms, right? Like taking out like the rows of chairs and desks and making more of like a community feel in the classroom. That's not really going to be more conducive to learning in most cases. But all they're saying is they want a place to belong. Critical race theory at its very base is going to keep people apart. It's not going to push them together. I think it's sad.
That theme.
I think it's sad.
We heard very strongly from you all.
Binary space is creating an outside versus inside space. And there's also a very clear idea that it's us versus them. So they don't like the idea of binary. They don't like the idea of individualistic. They like the idea of collective and collaborative.
That these two issues should be delinked and separated. And so we created binary space, and you'll see what was marked out here move to number 11, which we'll show you in a minute.
Marginalized and hidden student space. Oh my God. Your pal says, great, let's have school choice so parents can send their kids to a school that matches their community and where they feel comfortable. I agree. Spaces, school space dedicated to clubs like
on this idea of hidden student space. And then finally here, this is where we couple the unequal and inaccessible space, and specifically looking at the school buildings and sites serving low-income families and communities of color are often in poor conditions with limited resources, and how that relates to the issue of inaccessible space. Facilities, amenities, particularly playgrounds, which we heard a lot in our dialogue sessions, vary widely across the district. Also with underserved families more likely to encounter inaccessible or aging equipment where upgrades are largely dependent on PTA fundraising. We hope this will make for our time today a little bit easier as we get into problem solving mode.
Okay, thank you, Amada. So now we're gonna actually begin to do the work of applying sociospatial ideas or facility planning ideas to those planning goals. So we, as Amada just laid out, we have 11 of these issues, and now what we're gonna work together in small groups to do in Miro is coming up with solutions to the issues that were just presented, right? So all of these issues obviously came from those conversations that we had, right? These are the words, the voices of countless people spending many hours kind of talking together about what some of the issues were in the district. And so we will all go into a series of breakout rooms. We'll be kind of in a team together. There'll be, I don't know, maybe
they're making a facilities plan based on critical race theory. You know, part of me, I'm going to be honest for a second, part of me says this is kind of boring to watch, and I wanted a little bit more spice when the person that sent this to me sent it to me. But part of me also says this could actually be really enlightening about how they are applying critical race theory in real life in schools. And I kind of want to know how you guys feel about it. How do you guys feel about this so far? Like, should we keep going with this to see how they're applying critical race theory to something like a facilities plan, which is kind of boring to begin with, but this is about basically how they're organizing like public schools based on critical race theory. I don't know. Like, I'm 50-50 about it. I could try to find another training if you guys want, but I like also kind of want to see where this is going. What do you guys in the chat feel like doing? Yeah, so I'm seeing some people like saying kind of like on the same page, like it's kind of boring, but it could also be very illuminating. This is not what I expected, that's for sure. Well, let's just see where they're going to go with these little breakout rooms.
I don't know, somewhere between 6 to 8 of us. Yeah, 6 to 8 of us in a group, and we will stay together. So we'll go into Miro. There will be one that we will do together just to kind of model that, talk about kind of what sorts of issues we're looking for. You will note that there are some items, if you go to the next one, Marnie, that have been pre-populated, right? So if you start to see under each of the issues, there are already ideas that were taken directly from the listening and learning sessions, and those are already there as your starting point. We've translated those into what we call planning language to ensure that they're staying in the lane of a long-range plan. But we recognize that doing that translation for folks that don't do this work every day is really hard, right? And so we'll do one together. Then we have 5 that are in round 1, and we will move around. The facilitator will move you around so that each group touches all 5 issues. And then
I'm going to share my screen. Hold on, it's going to be very strange because I believe you will be seeing Zoom and Zoom. So this is my Zoom screen, and this is my Miro screen. So I have them sitting right next to each other. So I can see you all, and I can see what's happening in Miro. So if you can, when I give you the link in just a moment, this is how you can set up your screen. If you're on
okay.
Capture that. And today we will be down here in April 22nd.
Well, I don't want to how to. I want conversation.
And I'm going to just sort of walk you through navigation really quick.
No.
Your phone. If you're on a tablet or
I should be able to just like copy or to type that.
Yes. I'm going to pull you down to where we're going to start.
Okay.
Second, and it actually looks like, and we keep adding to that. And now if you haven't clicked, you will continue to follow me. And I'm going to pull you down to this large group where I did not put any sticky notes. We'll all come back together and have a little debrief and talk about how that went.
I'm so confused with what's going on right now.
The next. So the idea is to walk through this first one and model it, and then this is what we will do together in breakout rooms.
Right. So the issue that we are looking at specifically here are tributes to white dominant narratives, right? So if Marnie, as the facilitator in each room, will be able to zoom you in and out of kind of what the issues are. So you can see there are already two sticky notes there. If you'll zoom in a little bit more on those, Marnie, so that my eyes will work. So 2 that came out of conversations that we had in listening and learning were plan for the removal of all culturally insensitive and racist artwork in PPS facilities.
Okay. There it is. How are they defining? So their first action item is to plan to remove all culturally insensitive or racist artwork in all of their public schools. How are they defining culturally insensitive or racist? That's why we kept going right here. Now, yes, art is racist.
Second one was continue to review school names and mascots to assure alignment with the district's racial equity and social justice goals, right?
So school names and mascots will be named in alignment with their equity and social justice goals. That means schools are going to get renamed. Any schools named after past white presidents are going to get renamed.
So those came directly from feedback we heard in listening and learning. And so we brought those forward for you all to hear today. So you are welcome to participate in this in at least 3 ways. One is we can just have a conversation.
Yeah, let's have a conversation.
One of us will take down your notes. The other is you can take and drag a sticky note to where you need to work and then double click in that sticky note and start typing. And the other is if for whatever reason, it sounds like almost everyone is in Miro, just go ahead and send a chat to one of us, whoever your facilitator is. You shouldn't need to enter in anything new, but if you would like to, you can do that as well. But you can go ahead and chat us and we can go ahead and translate yours into chat. So what are some ideas people have about how we start to break down the tributes to white dominant narratives? Does anyone want to share out loud?
I actually had been thinking about this as soon as I opened it up. And not only, taking down items, figures, things, art that is, kind of obtrusive, offensive, has...
so now we're taking down all art that would be offensive. Yes, I do believe, Adrian, that is a kid. Yeah, I do believe that's a kid. Yeah.
Mixed history, but also making sure that we include new art that is from like a mixed background that is applicable to all students.
New art, not from white people. No white people art allowed.
In some way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, without erasing any sort of history behind it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share one aloud?
I have one, Karina.
This guy.
And I heard this recently from another engagement, and it was to make explicit the implicit, right? To really daylight why things have been done the way they are as part of telling the story of it or the history of the space, so that there's nothing left to ambiguity. There's like a real clarity as to why things are being done.
Thank you, Octavia. Anyone else? Other ideas? You can see some folks are writing in there. You should be able to kind of now pan yourself around with that center zoom, that center scroll button, holding it down.
And if you want to just click on a sticky note and drag it over into the space and double click on it, you can type in it. There you go.
And you'll see us start moving things to group things. That's okay as well.
Giant one.
Anyone else have any other ideas that you want to share?
So Jenny, you can just go ahead and grab those little white dots in the corner of that and scale that sticky note down so that it's not covering everyone else's. That'd be great.
I don't know how many architects would design a neoclassical building in 2021 or 2031, but maybe moving away from neoclassical architecture.
Architecture is racist.
Going to say continue to have students drive the name and mascots evaluation and renaming process.
They're going to have students dictate what schools and mascots, like, did any of you get to name the mascot of your high school? Because I know I didn't.
I'm also thinking about concepts around school values and culture and how those are promoted dominantly in signage posters, art. So most likely I would assume values and, cultures of the school, whatever the school values itself would hopefully not be a tribute to, a white dominant narrative, or if it needs.
She's literally talking about creating propaganda like they created in the Cultural Revolution in China right now. That's what she's talking about. She might not know that she's talking about that, but this is literally what she's talking about, is creating propaganda to hang up around the schools to reinforce their values of a non-dominant white culture, whatever.
Needs to be shifted, but then to really promote that in very public and physical ways.
Great.
I'm wondering if we want our schools to be hubs for the community, how could we have a representation maybe from the artwork? I apologize, I forgot your name. I was just saying that. Valerie or Valeria, is your name correctly?
Yeah, Valeria.
Valeria, sorry. How do we capture that and like over time? So thinking about gentrification too, like how do we capture what's going on and how a community is represented over time? Especially, I think in one of the meetings I was in, a building, we're supposed to think of a building being there for what, 70 years, 50 years, a long time. So how do we capture the essence of the community for small chunks of time over time? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Any other ideas?
It's less explicitly about race, but maybe moving away from English dominant narratives.
Oh,
Daniel has 90 languages in it. Maybe from an architectural perspective, thinking about how to either be extremely multilingual beyond just the top 5, or maybe try and just move away from verbal signage towards more like visual signage.
do you know what I just thought of when he's like, move away from verbal signage to visual signage? So has anyone watched every episode of The Handmaid's Tale? Like I have the show, which is obviously different than the book. But so in the show, obviously in the show and in the book, like women are not allowed to read in The Handmaid's Tale. And so there is an episode of the show, I think it's like in the 3rd season or something, where one of the wives goes to Canada with her husband and they're on some sort of diplomatic mission. And when they hand her itinerary, it's just all pictures because women aren't allowed to read. So the only thing they can put on her itinerary for the woman is an emoji to indicate like food has like a plate and 2 forks and like, so that's what they're allowed to do. That's what I was just thinking of when that guy was saying, let's not even use English in our signage. Let's just have pictures for the most possible inclusiveness. This is like a dystopian reality. It really is. They're creating a dystopian reality in a real public schools before our very eyes. This is like, it's making me think of like any dystopian movie I've watched, like, Brave New World or Fahrenheit 451 or any of these these future realities in which they've gone through these processes to create just a completely sterile human experience. This is happening in real life.
That's great.
I already put this on here, but if you would want to like make any edits to it, I put celebrating and honoring the history of the land that the building is built on through tributes. I think that would be very important for each and every one.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else as we sort of wind down this one? So what will happen in our when we're doing this is our breakout groups is one group will leave their legacy, so to speak, on the slide. The next group will come in, add to it, refine it, and we'll do that kind of 5 times in the round, right? And then we'll come back and we will debrief as a whole. Anything else for this one? Tributes to white dominant narratives that we want to capture? Okay, Marnie, what do you think?
I think it's perfect timing. So once again, I'm going to send you to breakout rooms. Some of you have logged off and potentially logged back in since I made these breakout rooms, and I'm not going to make them again right now. So if I'm going to send everyone, and there will be a couple of you left, and I will place you. What's going to happen is you will be sent to a breakout room just like you were earlier. I was going to say this morning, just like you were earlier. And if you look up into the left-hand corner of that Zoom window, it will tell you what room you're in. So I have room 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If your room is 2, for instance,
Okay,
you're just going to
fast
navigate
forward.
yourself.
So maybe what we can do is just gather people's thoughts, right? So if we think about maybe, Marnie, will you share your screen so we can maybe by issue, maybe start with issue number 2.
I'm sharing only Miro. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, any feedback here for folks? Anything that felt, particularly impactful to you in your group as you talked about it?
They're so dead inside. I'm looking for something else for us to watch right now, to be honest, because I feel like we've gotten the main point. Also, I'm really bored and I want to watch something else.
Give everybody a chance to kind of catch up and do a bit of a gallery read.
I'd be remiss if I didn't second the provide spaces for community orgs.
Indeed.
I joined late because I came from another meeting, but I love the conversation. I think it's really important. It's interesting that we're challenging kind of the ways that we can make improvements. And I couldn't really get Miro to work. Maybe it's Miro.
Okay, I got one. Okay,
so I shared that we had a prayer room.
I want to give you guys an option. Okay, I want to give you guys an option, and I will let the chat decide. We can keep going with this, and I think it's going to be painful and cringy, and we might get some good stuff. But I feel like it's getting a little cringe for me, and it's getting hard for me to watch it. And I can sage my office as much as I want, but it's getting a little hard for me. So we can stick with this, or we can move over to one that I just barely found called White Women and Critical Race Theory that was streamed just a couple of months ago. And the scripture of that is Zakaya will be in a conversation with Catrice Jackson about the culpability of white women in the anti-critical race theory campaign sweeping the country. Maybe I'll even be featured in it as a culpable white woman in the anti-critical race theory campaign. You guys want to watch that? Type Y into the chat if you want to watch that instead. Because I've had enough with this facilities planning thing. This was not what I thought it was going to be. This is part of the problem when you're doing like a genuine reaction video, right? Like, I just can't anymore. I can't. But I did link this in the description below. So if you really want to go watch the rest of that, we can do that. But let me make sure that I'm transitioning this properly. And so, hang on. I need to get this in a Chrome window, because I can't hear the audio if it's not in a Chrome window. And guys, while I'm working this out, please remember to mount that like button, and also make sure you join my locals community, kb.locals.com, because it helps support the work I'm doing on the channel. And also you get lots of awesome stuff like 2 Zoom calls a week and book club and debate club and all sorts of good stuff. And so mount that like button and make sure you join my locals. It is free to join. You can upgrade to a supporter membership if you want more out of it. It's $5 a month, $50 a year. All right, let's get going. Moving over to our training number 2. Oh, Adrian asked if we should generate a new bingo card. Yes. New bingo. Did anyone get bingo? I know a lot of you are getting close to bingo. I mean, maybe we could keep going with the old bingo card. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it. I don't know. I don't know what's fair. Actually, you know what? I don't know. Generate a new bingo card if you want. Stick with the old bingo card if you want, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I may have just fouled people up. Like if someone deleted their bingo card. But okay, we'll you know, what's the most fair? I don't know. I can't decide. Everyone's like, no, let me finish my... Okay, finish your bingo card. Finish your bingo card if you want. If you have not gotten your Unwoke bingo card yet, you can grab one. I pinned, it's in the description below, or I pinned it to the comment or the top of the chat on both the YouTube channels. Let's get going. And let me know if you can hear the sound, if the sound's working. My lights just turned off. Something happened.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this week's Building Power. I am your host, Zakia Sankara Jabbar. And
wouldn't it be funny if I was mentioned in this one? That would like make my day.
Today, we're going to be having a really good, thorough conversation about, you know, what we all have been seeing in the news or seeing in some of our networks. That's been kind of sweeping the country, and that's this anti-critical race theory curriculum and really anti-understanding American history, the truth of American history and history of colonialism.
This is gonna be much better
in the West in general. But I'm joined by an expert that I admire, that I have been had the opportunity as well to work with. Finally, I was excited about that. And someone who is doing what I believe is critical work. Like I like do not envy her, but she's good at what she does. Let's just be honest about that. Our sister Patrice Jackson.
You know, I'm gonna give them a compliment. I'm gonna give them a compliment and say at least like she has some life in her. She's much better than the miserable white people in that other thing that we were watching. At least she has some life in her. She has some spirit. I may not like what she has to say, but I'll at least give her that. She's not dead inside.
Patrice is a Black woman who loves, centers, and celebrates Blackness every day while living her best Black life unapologetically. She is the CEO of Catriceology Enterprises, LLC. She is the chief conductor at Harriet's Dream, LLC, a racial trauma healing and wellness center for Black women, and the host of the Black Couch Conversations, a Black ass podcast for Black folks with a psychological twist. She is also an anti-racism speaker and educator. She serves up strong medicine and hard truths to eliminate the lethal infection of racism. She is also the creator of She Talks, We Talk, Race Talks for Women. She Talks, He Listens, and the author of 11 books, including Weapons of Whiteness, White Faces, Missing Faces,
Okay, like the 11 books aside, and I do not believe that she's written 11 books. P.S. I don't. But like, I've only written 2 books, and the last one nearly killed me. Okay, but like, I like that she has a show for men apparently called She Talk, He Listen. Isn't that like every day for most men? I'm gonna start that show. I'm gonna start a show where I just bring men on and they sit there quietly while I talk. Oh wait, that's every Tuesday night with Joshua. Nothing remotely controversial. I already do that show with a psychic.
Listen, y'all ain't even ready. I'm trying to tell you. Antagonists, advocates, and allies, and unfuckable with. What? Catrice's message is straight up on the rocks with no chaser, unbothered by naysayers, unflinching in her approach, and Catrice's dedication to Black people is what motivates her behind this personal movement of justice is love. Woo, Lord, I'm telling you, we got the right one today. And this, I would not even dream of having nobody else to have this conversation with right now. Seriously, and I'm honored that you agreed to be here, sister. welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here. And you and I have worked together before. And so, I'm looking forward to it today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
just jump
Like,
right into it
at least
because
they have
listen,
spunk.
girl, that bio is fire.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you guys this. Like, even if what you're spewing is bullshit, if you say it with life and you say it with confidence and you say it with pizzazz, then people will believe it. And like people like this that are doing this kind of work, I'm sorry, they're living proof of this. I would rather listen to these two every single day than those miserable white people in that other presentation, even though I'm sorry, we probably could have like sussed out some really like subversive things those people were doing, but I just like I couldn't do it. Like I gotta have something with life in it. It's just like it's like those people are dead inside. It makes you feel dead inside.
Listen, I am always interested in other Black people's journey in this work, right? What was the trigger? What was the impetus that got you on this path? Like, oh, listen, no, this is what we got to do. I'm gonna write these books. I'm getting ready to start this podcast. I'm getting ready to like really deal with this in the way that it needs to be done. Like you said, unapologetically. What was the spark?
Oh, so many sparks, but I think the one spark that really kicked it off was Trayvon Martin. And at the time, I was living away from my own son, my only child, and I believe he was probably about 18 or 19 at the time, and I had moved to Texas, and he was supposed to come. I went, set up camp, all that good stuff, me and my husband. And then he decided he didn't want to join us. And I was like devastated because I had never been away from him. But while I was there living in Texas, that's when Trayvon Martin was murdered. And all I could think about was my son away from me,
because I want
walking
to
the
get to the
streets
good
of
stuff.
Omaha in a hood. But every day
for that. I just want to say that because
I want to know how I'm responsible for all racism as a white woman.
I've watched you for a couple of years now. That's the other thing. How did you decide to really hone in on white women? What was that? That's what I want to know.
That's the sweet spot right there. Well,
I bet it
primarily
is.
my work before that was with women, so it was already a comfort zone. Prior to this work, believe it or not, I was doing branding and marketing work.
Oh, I believe it.
And so I was already doing like empowerment summits and empowerment conferences for women. And so working with women was really the comfort zone and the sweet spot. But what I noticed is that all the things that I talk about now, the white woman violence, that all was happening while I was working with women. And I saw it, I felt it, I knew what it was. I didn't always have the language to put my finger on exactly what that violence was. White people have done to Black and brown bodies in this country.
Bodies,
This is white
bingo
terrorism. Word. I don't call it white supremacy.
What the fuck?
To me, that there's a beast that haunts us as Black folks and non-white folks, and the beast is white terrorism. I don't call it white supremacy because there's nothing supreme about the horrendous, heinous things that white people have done to Black and brown bodies in this country. It is pure terrorism, and so that is the beast that haunts us daily, even in our sleep. And so, I started to look back at history and kind of see how this thing, at least in America, has evolved. And white women have always been at the table. They've always been complicit to the crimes against Black bodies in this country. They're the ones that these so-called terrorists, these, KKK members or whatever it is you want to call them, they had to come home and somebody had to cook their meals and have their babies and wash their clothes. And, so white women have always been present and active. History wants to write it in a way that says that they were silent or that they were bystanders. No, they weren't. They were always active participants in the crimes against Black bodies. And so I knew that was it. I knew that was the space that I needed to be in, the audience that I needed to target. And, I tell them straight up, like, white women are the neck of the beast. And
Wow.
the head don't move without the knee. The head don't move without the neck, right?
Wow. That's absolutely historically accurate, number one. Number two, you're absolutely right that white women have managed, and I believe through sort of the introduction of the so-called women's rights, suffrage, and feminism and things like that, which was clearly very white women-led and also very anti-Black and racist. A lot of people don't like to talk about that, especially feminists. But there's a sister that wrote a book not too long ago, a couple of years ago, you're probably familiar with it, called They Were Her Property.
Yes.
And actually talked about the fact that white women were not bystanders. They did not just get their wealth because of their husband's death and they owned the slaves after that. No, they were also very active slave masters themselves. The slave masters is often gendered as male and is white male. And her book goes into that very deep. They were her property. And I encourage anybody to pick up that book and read it. And not only that, I mean, we see it today. And like you said, even in your work, you know, working on different jobs and things like that, you see sort of the power that they have. And I don't think that we also articulate in this country that white women are the second most powerful group in this country.
Absolutely.
Behind their men. The second most wealthiest group in this country behind their men. So
I kind of am a little bit resentful that I'm being put behind white men, because that I find that to be a little bit patronizing, to be honest.
Those are the kind of things that don't get talked about. And that's what I think is so unique about you, is because you focus on this specific demographic. And I think it's literally, like I said, I don't envy you. It's critical work. And I know you have a particular way that you do it. And so here's the thing, and I want to like pivot to why we're here today, and why we are talking about white women and their role in the anti-critical race theory conversation. Is like you alluded to it, they're the mothers, right? They're the primary probably caretakers when it comes to schooling, especially K through 12 school. We're seeing them show up to board meetings. We're seeing them, you know, go against, you know, what is right and just, not just for Black children, but for all children. We need to know the truth about.
Let's see. Six Semper Tyrannia says, have the big cities like Chicago and Baltimore lately? I'm positive what's terrorizing Black people are not white people, just saying. Well, also, you know, especially not white women, apparently.
Out what's happening in this country and race in and of itself. We didn't create race. So why y'all mad? Like, we Black people didn't even create it. Y'all created it
So, okay, so this is something I've heard coming up more and more and more lately, is this idea that white people created the entire concept of race. And the whole idea is that, like, when white people came over from Europe and landed in America, that's when they created the concept of, like, white versus Black, like white being at the top and Black people being slaves. Whereas before that, they were like, white people were referred to by like whatever country they were in, like, you know, the Irish or the Italians or, you know, stuff like that. So they're saying, I've heard this coming up more and more, that white people created the entire concept of race and that it is an American concept, because when people came over here, they stopped referring to themselves by their heritage, which is wrong. P.S. All you need to do is watch and or read Gangs of New York to know that is not accurate. But that is the line that's being put forth now. And now I kind of want to watch Gangs of New York because that's a badass movie.
Control people and to segregate people and to say who was worthy and who wasn't. So like now y'all don't want to talk about that?
Isn't that ironic that they created race? But you know, now why is everything got?
Here is the question that I have. If race is a social construct, is melanin a social construct? Does melanin even exist? Honestly, if race is a social construct, is melanin a social construct?
Gotta be about race, Catrice. Why this? Why that? Look, y'all started this.
Y'all started it?
Oh, really?
Right.
It wasn't us.
Exactly.
So
it actually in real life wasn't us either. At least wasn't me. My ancestors never owned slaves. My ancestors were from France. They founded Quebec. They didn't own slaves. They may have been bastard French-speaking like assholes, but they didn't own slaves.
tell us a little bit, and now I want to bring up a video in a minute. Tell us a little bit about like some of the experiences that you've had since, right, working with this cohort of white women on the spectrum of, like you said, I know you're in the lion's den every day, like the spectrum of people who like lash out at you, people who come in thinking they're ready, they're not. And then tell us about the ones who've been rocking with you the entire time. I'm really interested in their psychology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the questions that I pose in the workshops that I do, and I think you mentioned those She Talks, We Talk. I take those workshops around the nation. The past 3 years, I have, kind of went all over the place. But this year, I decided to host them all in the Twin Cities. And believe it or not, next year may be the last year that I offer those workshops.
Wait. Are you articulating this from your perspective, or are you saying that's what they mean? Because I don't disagree with you. I just want to know if you're a leftist or not, because I don't recognize you. And if you are, it's fine. I mean, hey, leftists are welcome here as long as you can be polite.
Workshops. I'm kind of feeling like I'm on the edge with it, but we'll see. But one of the questions that I ask right away in that workshop is, has there ever been a time in American history when white women have took to the streets in thousands and thousands and thousands of people marching, protesting, shutting shit down?
Yes, it was called the day after Trump got inaugurated.
Demanding and saying, listen, enough is enough.
Yes, that literally happened the day after Trump got inaugurated. It was where they were all wearing the pussy hats. That literally happened in 2017, I suppose. January 2017, Women's March.
You are going to stop hurting Black women.
Oh, maybe it didn't.
You're going to stop abusing and oppressing and marginalizing Black and brown Indigenous women. Has there ever been that time in history where we can note that white women have took to the streets on
all of 2020? Literally all of 2020? Remember that time? Remember that time racism was made a public health crisis and that we were allowed to circumvent a pandemic because racism was more important during 2020 and that was okay?
On behalf of their so-called sisters in the movement, the feminist movement, to say no more. And every single time I ask that question, the answer is always absolutely not. There is no time. And so why has there not been a time that white women have rallied themselves like they rallied for the Women's March about 3 years ago? So we know they're capable, right? We know they're capable of organizing and mobilizing and taking to the streets to do what's quote unquote right. But why have they not done that for Black and brown women?
They did it for all of 2020.
Puzzles the white women when I ask them that question, but I ask it because it's one of the...
Here's the thing. What are your specific demands? What are your demands? What are your grievances? What are the policies that you want changed? If you can give me a list of racist policies that are specifically like targeting Black and brown women, like we can have a conversation about that. I don't want there to be like specific racist policies on the books that you want changed. I will totally be in your corner on that. But you're telling me just to get out there to stand up for you for no reason? Like, what is the goal? Why am I giving you my time?
Questions that startles them and wakes them up to say what I believe and know to be true is that white women don't give a damn.
What she believes and knows to be true is that white women don't give a damn. All right, well, I guess we should just take your word for it. You haven't given me any reason to give a damn. Just saying get out there for Black and brown women. I'm sorry, what are your grievances? What are your grievances? Give me a list. Give me a list of specific policies and specific things you want changed. What is the goal? Yeah, exactly, Patrice. She doesn't know me. and to be honest, if you're gonna do a whole webinar telling me I'm the problem and not giving me a specific list of grievances other than it's your job to go out there and protest on my behalf, what do you want me to do with that? I have no idea.
They
At the
also
end of-
don't benefit, right? Like
Right.
it's not in their interest.
Right. There's nothing to gain for them. And so therefore it doesn't matter. But even at a deeper psychological level, from a humanistic point of view, they don't care. They don't care about Black and brown women, period. Because if they did, they would have already taken to the streets. And so that's one thing that I say to like startle them into this new awakening.
So here's what she does. Here is my understanding of what she does. She's one of these people that like white women will pay to like go to dinner or something and be told they're racist for 2 hours and just like to flagellate and make themselves feel better, like they've atoned for their inherent racism. Like, if you want me to care about something that you care about, make an argument. Present specifics. Like, this is not that hard. I have no idea what your grievances are. Tell me your grievances.
So over the last 4 years, I have been able to gather some white women who are committed to doing the work. Some come in and think they're committed.
Yeah, Jaya says, I'm the problem, and if you don't know why I'm the problem, then I need to educate myself. Fine, that I'm the problem. Fine, Jaya. Jaya's actually pretty awesome, by the way. She's just joking.
To doing the work, and when they get that taste of that Catriceology medicine, they're like, oh hell no. They bail. They're out of there.
Yeah, you guys are right in the chat. This is correct. You guys have watched a lot of these trainings. You don't know their list of grievances because I haven't done the work. I now have to go get a reading list of every book ever written by a Black woman ever to understand their list of grievances so I can know exactly how to help them without them having to tell me. Is this what men feel like all the time? I'm seriously asking for the men in the chat. Is this what you feel like all the time when your women are like, why don't you just take care of me? And you're like, I don't know what to do. And they're like, why don't you know what I need from you? Is this like what men feel like when they're married? I know Tony's in the chat. Tony will tell the truth. Tony, is this what it's like to be you?
But I just commented in my group the other day and said, shout out to those of you who've been here 3 years.
All the men are like, yes.
And it's about 10 folks, 10 women who met me 3 years ago and have committed themselves to stay in the cohort.
I suddenly feel like I need to go and apologize to Victor for something that I didn't do.
Staying in the collective, doing the work, not waving their white flag and getting comfortable and going back into complacency. And they stay committed. And they do.
Oh, your pal says, I tell my wife to shut up and make me a sandwich. I bet that goes over real well. I bet you get a glorious sandwich on top of, better not be any mayonnaise on that sandwich. That's all I'm saying.
What's required of them. Most of our work in that collective is around nourishing and supporting Black women and also economic justice.
So glad that you brought that up. I love the economic justice part. Because oftentimes in this work around racial justice, I think especially in recent history, the economic justice part gets lost.
Yes.
And this is not a time that economic justice can get lost or should be lost. I'll share a quick example with you. I live in the DC region, which has been known historically, for decades, years, as being recession proof, right? Is known for having a good economy and all.
Hang on. Mike says my mods are trigger happy. Mike, don't be a dick in the chat. I don't know what was said. I don't know what happened, but you're still here. Don't be a dick in the chat and you won't get modded, okay? We've had a lot of white supremacists on this channel. Just be nice. Just be polite. If someone made a mistake, let it go.
All of that, even for, people of color and Black folks and all of that, right? And I live in a community, a county that is very diverse, but is also known to be the home of the Real Housewives of Potomac. So there is that demographic where there's the really high, wealthy, high net worth, all of that, Chevy Chase, Potomac, all of that. And
Mike, if you got accidentally modded, I'm sorry, but just like sit out the timeout. It's not the end of the world. I'm sorry.
So the county is wealthy where I live.
I didn't do it.
And there are resources and the schools and all that are good. I put in air quotes when it comes to Black folks. You know how I go. they still find a way to under-resource our kids. Anyway, and I was horrified.
You live in the community where the Real Housewives of the Potomac are, and you want to talk about under-resourced? I'm sorry. I'll introduce you to the high school that I went to, where I had 48 other people in my graduating class and had no resources to do anything. I bet my high school is a lot more under-resourced than the Real Housewives of the Potomac.
And I have to say, I moved from Dayton, Ohio to here about 5 years ago. And so, that's the Midwest, about that, that's where you at. And the Midwest, particularly the Ohio, the Michigan and Indiana sort of trifecta region there, even some in Pennsylvania, that trifecta there was the Rust Belt, or the industrial Rust Belt of the country, that was all about manufacturing and building General Motors and Ford cars. That's long gone. And so the economic base dropped out.
Yes, and why is that gone? Why is it gone? Why is Ford no longer building all those cars? Why can't people make a nice middle-class living by working for one of the major automobile manufacturers? Oh, because they outsourced everything out of the country and are going to continue to do it under Biden. Trump was starting to bring it back, but now it's just going to be cheaper. It is what it is. And this is all the Democrats' fault. It is literally all the Democrats' fault. This is, I mean, you are voting for the people that did this. Don't complain that major manufacturers are leaving when you're voting for the reasons that they're leaving.
Particularly for Black folks who was in those jobs, right, making a high middle class earning income, that is erased. And so with that comes all of the issues with that, with the schools and everything. And so I'm framing all that.
Why are white women responsible for the fact that all the automobile jobs got shipped overseas? That's literally the fault of people who voted for Democrats. That has nothing to do with white women specifically, unless the white women voted for Democrats, and then it is their fault.
That to say, I noticed they were locking up baby formula at the grocery stores, right? Locking up necessities for babies to live, right? I mean, locking up.
When are we going to talk about white women?
Other things that, like 2 days ago, I walked into my neighborhood giant grocery store and a security guard was standing there.
Oh.
And I just looked. I said, wow. The nation's capital, near the nation's capital, right? The capital region, as they call it. Recession-proof, federal jobs all throughout the wazoo. Federal contract jobs throughout the wazoo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that level of poverty here. And I said, our elected officials are not doing what they're supposed to do, but also everyday people, high net worth everyday people are also not doing what they're supposed to do. Because number one, they're not paying taxes the way that they should be. But number two, like they just don't, like you said.
This was streamed on May 12th, 2021, which means that the Democrats control every level of government. And so if you have a beef with elected officials, then perhaps you should take it up with Joe Biden.
They don't give a damn. And so if you can just really quickly talk about what that looks like, the economic justice part, and what is the requirement for these women to have an economic justice framework with the racial justice. I would love to hear that from you.
Well, one of the main things that I teach when I'm, working with them is how all of what they have access to, the resources, the opportunities, the connections, the homes, I mean, everything that they have access to is a result of racism. It's a result of, white terroristic, systemic racism that allows them, like you said, to be number two. And speaking of number two, I smash that, right? I get rid of that thing right away when we're talking about, levels of oppression, if you will, and help them first to see how they are number two and how that they actually need to stop saying, you know, oh, we're going to smash the patriarchy. Okay, hold up. You can smash it, but you need to be smashing the patriarchy called white men, because Black and brown men do not have power over you. So that's one of the first steps, is to get them to see that, to understand that.
Say that again.
Yes.
Like, they love this, the global patriarchy. No, let's talk about who we talking about, because patriarchy has a power, just like racism is about power. I want to know the power that, especially that Black men have over white women. Can somebody explain that to me in the comments? What is the power? Because they don't.
They absolutely do not. And so I take them way back into a history lesson and bring them forward. One of the scenes that I use when I'm doing some teaching is the scene on 12 Years a Slave, the scene where, you know, Master Epps decides that he's going to brutalize Patsy for going and getting a piece of soap. And if, you know, the scene is, you know, the mistress is right there. She's in the background. She's in her white, pretty dress. She's prim and proper, back straight, basically standing there watching this Black woman be brutalized. And I use different scenes like that, different, you know, scenarios, different pieces of education to show how historically white women have always been number two, how they continue to have the power. And we already know what happens when a white woman screams or hollers or says she's afraid or intimidated when a Black man is in her presence. He doesn't have any power over that situation. And so I do that education to get them to get that into their mind, because if they can understand that, then they can begin to see.
So what do you want people to do? What do you want people to do? Because to me, this seems like a never-ending quest to inflict shame and guilt upon people who have done nothing wrong. Now, I can absolutely understand looking at historical context, and I totally appreciate that scene from 12 Years a Slave. I've seen that movie many times. I know exactly what she's talking about. Like, I get it. And I do believe that these are things that we should be teaching throughout history. I really do. I think that we should be teaching these things. I think we should be teaching that these things happened. I think that we should be showing movies like that, because I do think that those realities were very real and are a context that we're all working in. I don't want to avoid those stories. I don't want those stories to not be told. But the question I have is, what do you want people to do about it now? How do you want people to change their behavior now? What policies do you want people to change now? It can't just be about making people feel guilty. You've got to give people something to do.
Themselves as number two. And once they see themselves as number two, then they can really see exactly what kind of unearned power that they have, which includes all the money, all the resources, all the, you know, ability to get a loan and buy a house and all the things that they do. And so one of the things that I teach as it relates to that is that this work is supposed to make you uncomfortable mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. You should be concerned about how you're going to pay your bills this month, because you're so busy paying reparations, money that's owed, debt that's owed.
What are you talking about?
You know, some of them get very uncomfortable with that, and that, you know, they can't deal with it. But those who have locked in and they get it and they understand it, they clearly know that there is no racial justice without economic justice. And so
they want reparations. This is what this is about. This is all about reparations. This isn't about white women at all. It's just about reparations. How about we make school choice? Can we just call school choice reparations? Can we please just call school savings accounts or whatever? Can we please just frame it as reparations? The smartest thing that Trump could have ever done would have been to frame his platinum plan in the 2020 campaign. He should just call that reparations. This is a branding exercise. Give money to underserved communities, which are going to tend to be Black, because that's just the way it is, and it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. Like, give money to underserved communities, call it reparations, and call it a day. Yeah, they believe looting's reparations, so they got $2 billion of reparations in the last year. Like, how many reparations do we owe? Yeah, Trump absolutely should have just called that plan reparations. That would have been the smartest thing that Trump had ever done, would be to just brand that plan as reparations.
Means moving money and transferring power. And all the ways that we do that. That could be as small as, and I don't really see it as small, but it could be as small as making sure that a Black mother has food on her table every month, that she has, the ability to buy formula and diapers. It could mean relocating a Black woman who's in a domestic violence situation and making sure that her plane ticket is covered and that she's set up when she gets there and that, she's got at least 3 to 6 months of financial support. It could mean, the Catriceology homes for Black women, where we are raising funds to help Black women buy homes debt-free.
So she wants you to donate to her organization. That's what she just said. She wants you to, as reparations, we are donating to her organization. I am shocked and appalled at this revelation. Not at all, really.
So, the economic justice work that we do within this collective and what I call white women to do all across the nation and the world is to move money and transfer power. I have actually...
So the role of white women is to give all their money to Black women. Is to give their money and power away to Black women. Which, again, if you had a specific grievance that you wanted help with, I'd be more than happy probably to help you with that specific grievance. But if you're just telling me, give me your money, like, how is that any different than being robbed? I'm sorry. If someone sticks me up in a dark alley and says, give me your money, then how is that any different than what she's doing here, except she's doing it with guilt and shame? She says, I'm going to guilt you and shame you into giving me your money. Like, what are you using it for? Why?
Zekiah had people step down out of roles so that Black women can step into them.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Like,
not only.
Are you serious about transferring power?
No, I'm not serious about transferring power because I'm not giving you my job. It's my job. I earned it. Build your own YouTube platform. I mean, I suppose she could. Like, I don't need to step out of my YouTube platform in order for her to have one of her own. But like, so we're supposed to give up our money. We're supposed to give up our influence. We're supposed to give up our jobs. Again, I have yet to hear of a specific grievance that we're working on here. Other than there was a scene in 12 Years a Slave, which again, I'm not delegitimizing that scene. That stuff was very real. But like, why am I supposed to give you my job because you showed me a scene in a movie?
Okay, well, let's get this work in then. Are you the most qualified person to be there? Well, no, not really. There's a
what makes you more qualified to be there? The fact that you're Black? Because that's not a qualification.
Fabulous Black woman who really, okay, then step down.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes they do.
Wow.
So, that's the fruit of the labor. But man, let me tell you about the labor.
Tell me
about it. It's like swimming with sharks every single day, whether that's online, whether it's in a workshop, whether it's in my cohort, dealing with these white women to get them able to be the accomplices that we need them to be. Ain't no joke. I mean, I'm dealing with what I call weapons of whiteness all day, every day. And it's, it's exhausting. But
so essentially she's emotionally breaking down white women so that they mindlessly do what she wants them to do. That's what we're talking about here.
But at the same time, I really feel like this is the work that I was created to do.
Mm-hmm.
That I've been given a certain amount of resiliency and what I call detached compassion in order to be able to do this.
Wow. Woo! Detached compassion. Girl, if you don't unpack that.
And so, the white women who,
oh my God. Okay. Hang on. You guys got to see this woman's website. You've got to see it. Okay. Hang on. We're gonna do a quick detour. I'm gonna show you this woman's website. Check this out. Catriceology. Look, that's actually kind of a fabulous picture. I'm not going to lie. America's #1 expert on white women's violence. Welcome to Catriceology. Straight up, no chaser, anti-racism education. Ignorance is not bliss. It's deadly. Ignorance is a liability in interracial engagements. What you don't know will hurt Black and brown people, whether intentional or unintentional. Racial insults, assaults, and invalidations are violent. Get educated so you can be and do better. And then lots of pictures of Catrice in different. It's kind of like when James Lindsay puts like different pictures of himself on Zoom, like, and like one's like further out, and then you get closer and closer. Donate to the Justice's Love Fund is a collective pool of money designated to assist Black women for emergency funds for survival and cash infusions. I'm actually not like opposed to stuff like that. Reparation. Okay, these are how you can support her work is by different GoFundMe's. Donate to Fellow Black Women's Conference. Purchase from her wish list. Oh, she's got an Amazon wish list, and you can send her stuff. $127,000. Oh my God. Yeah, she is using my colors, and I'm not happy about that. What is this for? Reparations campaign for descendants of enslaved Africans, supporting Catrice Jackson's wellness and anti-racism work. We secured a house in 29. Where is the? Hang on. Oh, a vegan restaurant founder started this. Okay, so this. She's gotten a white woman ally to start her a GoFundMe with $127,000. I am the co-founder and co-owner of Trio Plant-Based. Trio is a vegan restaurant with a foundation of racial justice in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am an unwavering proponent of reparations for descendants of enslaved Africans, and I am thrilled to invite you to be part of my campaign for reparations. Reparations are a matter of common sense and human decency, and for those of us who accept simple historical facts. It is a historical fact the United States was founded by kidnapping and enslaving African people. The debt created, blah, 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 blah. I'm honored to. So why are we giving this to Catrice? I don't understand. Catrice is a descendant of enslaved. Oh, because this is reparations for Catrice. Catrice has gotten $127,000 from a reparations fund. Are you kidding? Are you shitting me? Wow. All right, let's go back to her. Wow. She got people to donate $127,000 to a fund for reparations for her. Like, not even that she got someone to do. This is the brilliance of this woman's grift. She got a white ally to set up a GoFundMe to raise her $127,000. Okay, Adrian's making a good point. From 27 people. Let's see. Hang on, I'll bring this back up. Top donors. 20,000. Who is... Wow. You know what? I'm not even mad at her. This woman got a white ally to set up a GoFundMe that raised her $127,000, including $20,000 donation from Annie, $10,000 from Katie, another one from Annie. Annie has donated $30,000 from Annie, $38,000 from Annie. Another, I mean, I'm not even mad at this woman's hustle. I'm not. You know what? Good for her. I hope she spends that money well. I do. Wow. Okay. Share audio. Let's get back to it.
About how horrible Catrice is. I've been told that my work is abusive. I need help. I need to go get therapy.
She's been told that her work is okay. I have never once in the history of my practice been told that my work is abusive. I have been called a bully online by people who are lying, but they're not paying me to be mean. I'm just sending them mean tweets. God. Not even those mean tweets most of the time.
This is the work that I was created to do. That I've been given a certain amount of
guilt and shame is a quick way to make money. Oh my God. I'd like to know who the hell is paying her. Tim Pool mentioned that grassroots support for a politician is destroyed because people are broke. I mean, wow.
resiliency and what I call detached compassion.
Who's paying her? Are rich, white, liberal, progressive women. That's who's paying her. Those are the people who feel extra guilty about all this stuff, and they're already like well off. They have $38,000, one of them, to spare to give to this woman. I mean, again, I can't even be mad at her. I don't think there's such a thing as grifting, because I think if you're giving value to the world, you're going to get value in return. She's obviously given a lot of white progressive women exactly what they want, which is to feel guilty about being like rich, white, progressive women. And she did a good job and she got paid because of it. I can't even be mad at it. I can't. I'm sorry.
In order to be able to do this.
Wow. Woo! Detached compassion. Girl, if you don't unpack that.
And so, the white women who, go on these rants and raves about how horrible Catrice is. I've been told that my work is abusive. I need help. I need to go get therapy. All kinds of stuff. I've had people write op-eds about me, slander my name all across the internet. You name it, I've experienced it. And so that's what I mean by swimming with sharks. It's always something. But and so what people tend to think is that I hate white people. And that's not the case. I don't hate white people, but I hate
before too.
But I hate racism.
Yeah.
And I hate white terrorism. And so in order to be able to do this work, believe it or not, I have to have some kind of compassion for these folks, as violent as they are, right? Meaning that I have to be able to believe that there's some humanity in there for me to tap into.
Wow, she's digging deep to try to make to really see that white people have humanity too. White women have humanity too. Oh my God.
If I don't believe that there's any humanity in there for me to tap into, then, the work doesn't even make sense. I shouldn't even be doing it. So one of the things that I help them discover, and I think this is why those who stay for as long as they do, is that I help them find their humanity for the first time.
She helps white women find their humanity for the first time. Okay, if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you, or you can make it a $38,000 donation to Catrice. Hi, Carlin. What does detached compassion mean? I don't know. I have to look it up specifically. I mean, I know what I think it means, but I'm not sure off the top of my head, to be honest, what the proper definition is. So I have to look it up.
Not reconnect to it, but find it. And so I have to have some level of compassion to do the work, but be so detached from it.
Oh, I see.
That I don't get sucked in.
Okay, so this is what I thought it was, but I wanted to make sure. So this is basically a concept that comes up like in abusive relationships where people have to are protecting themselves from being gaslit, essentially. That's what she's talking about right now, which of course doesn't actually apply in the context that she's talking about it, because she's willfully engaging in relationships with people who she claims are terrorists, like white terrorists. She's willfully engaging in them. She can disengage in them anytime. But that's generally what she's talking about. She's using the term incorrectly.
And that I don't allow myself to be used and abused in a way that keeps me from doing the work. And so it's kind of similar to like being a therapist.
No.
Like you can have compassion for your clients, and sometimes
people go through training to become a therapist. They go through different mentorship programs to become a therapist. There are things you have to do to become a therapist.
And clients really hit
why not everyone's a clinician
home, and you really feel for them, but you have to be emotionally wise enough and emotionally strong enough to not get enmeshed with your clients. You have to keep some kind of distance, and I think I use that same kind of action when I'm working with white women. And so that's what I call it. It's detached compassion. Like I can feel from you from way over here, right? Or I can understand you from way over here, or I can have some kind of compassion for you from way over here, because I know if I get close with you with that compassion, they'll use those weapons of whiteness against me left and right. And so It's a practice that
I want to know what the weapons of whiteness are. I want to know what she's talking about. I want specific examples.
I've kind of like honed in on as a therapist.
You're not a therapist.
And I use that same technique when I'm working with them.
That's some real science you just dropped.
No.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening are like,
no, that was not real science. That was not science at all. That was a lived experience. That was a singular lived experience and an opinion. That had nothing to do with science.
Wow, because I know that one of the things that you mentioned earlier that white women and girls particularly know how to do is center themselves, use tears, because most of us are very compassionate. You see somebody crying, you feel compassion, and you want to back, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I should have found another way. You know what I'm saying? It's like then you blame yourself about things that was righteous, right? But they pulled you off of your square. You know what I'm saying? And you just described that so well, where you have compassion, but you're not pulling me off of my square right now.
That's right.
That's right. Love that.
And you know what?
Real science, yeah.
You know why they use the tears, and why they expect us to do something with those tears? Because they've mammified us.
Oh shit, girl, Lord have mercy.
What is this?
I mean, you know, when name a time in this country where white women haven't used black women as their mammy. So
what?
They expect us to turn around and coddle them and hold them and say it's going to be okay, and you know it's all right.
What are you talking about?
No, we don't do that over here. I don't do that.
We've mammified them? Oh my God. Okay.
So when they cry, it's a form of manipulation. It's a very strategic tactic. It's a form of narcissism. And they cry with the intent to derail what you're really talking about.
You know, I saw like one of those horrible TikTok videos like a couple weeks ago where there was this these two friends, and one was black and one was white. And the black one was always trying to educate the white one on how the white one had microaggressed against her. And so there was another series of videos with just the white one in general, just kind of like talking into her camera. And the white woman apparently has a child who is a girl and was crying. And I'm talking like a toddler here, like, you know, like 3-4 years, something like 2-3 years old, something like that, like small child. And so the white woman is actually letting her young toddler age child just cry and cry and cry and cry and cry without doing anything to help her, because she doesn't want to teach her that white woman's tears are going to allow her to get her way. So it's like, which is kind of like, it sounds like child abuse a little bit. But that's just me. That's just me.
Or what's happening, to deflect from that, to take you off your square, and then to spin it around to make you the villain. And not only make you the villain, but then take it to the next sick level. And then you're the villain, but they still want you to come and comfort them and say, it's going to be okay, Karen. I know you didn't mean it.
Why would any woman pay this woman money? Why? All that's gonna happen is they're gonna be berated for the entire time that they're working with them. These women have no self-worth.
Don't worry about it. I mean, it's all some sick psychological stuff that is in the minds of whiteness, that's in the minds of white women. And that's why I call them weapons of whiteness. I started off.
Oh, so it's white women who are weapons of whiteness. And they're all just like, all white women are the same and are all just trying to emotionally manipulate and gaslight everyone else. Okay. No, Karen, it was Karen, not Karen.
When I first started doing this work with 3 or 4 weapons, and I'm up to like almost 50 now.
Ooh. Wow. Well,
Wait, did she say that 50 different women are working for her? Or like doing this work with her? That 50 women who she says are white weapons are paying her to be okay. You know, I can't even be mad at it. I cannot even be mad at it. I can't. These people see a business opportunity and they took advantage.
A whole lot of science in this first half hour segment.
That wasn't science. That's not
because
science.
I wanted people to hear this, and
I have to say though, I know the other webinar was probably like more productive from like a purely how are they going to implement their Orwellian dystopian society. Like I get that, but this is so much more fun. This is like we had some vegetables in that other one. We kind of saw what they were doing, and it was bullshit. And now I feel like now we've moved on to a full on dessert course. I really do. This is so much more fun.
People to know like the real impactful work that you're doing is not just for show. You have written books. I mean, you've done this. You're doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tee up this clip because I thought about you. We have a clip of a white woman who is, I believe, at a school board meeting. And I just want to play this really quickly for the audience and have you respond.
Because I do not want critical race theory taught to my children in school does not mean that I'm a racist, damn it.
So there is the tears that you just explained as a tactic. That's a school board meeting. Now that's just one clip, right? Like this has been happening all across the country. And thankfully somebody posted that on Twitter. So that's how we got it. Your reflections.
Well, let me just say this. It's classic. It's textbook. It's exactly what you expect from white women. I'm not shocked by it anymore. I expect to see exactly that. It's a piece from what I call the white woman script. And it's predictable. You already know what's going to happen. You already know how they're going to respond. And even though sometimes we already know that they're going to respond that way, it doesn't take the violence out of it. And I call it violence because what they're doing is causing harm in some kind of way, whether that's emotional, spiritual, physical. Or
so I'm responsible for causing you spiritual harm by expressing an opinion. Because I'm a white woman. Is that what we're saying? We're saying that white women are responsible for causing you, someone they have never met, spiritual harm by expressing an opinion and a concern? Okay.
Psychological. I call it white woman violence. And so what she's really afraid of is a couple of things. The two things that I see that this woman is afraid of by not allowing, this to be, taught to her kids is she's afraid to lose power, number one. Because if somebody gets educated or somebody's enlightened or somebody, decides to be or do something different that better serves humanity, then that means things get spread out, right? Hopefully that means that, and that resources get spread out and people are treated the way that they deserve to be treated, but she doesn't want to lose power. And the second thing that I believe is happening with her is that she doesn't want to look at the ugly.
So I just want to note that, like I say all the time, and I know a lot of you who are regulars hear me say this all the time, so I kind of feel bad about repeating myself sometimes, but critical race theory is not about race. Critical race theory is about power. That is all it is about. That's why one of the first things she went to upon watching this clip of a white woman standing up at a school board meeting and saying something she didn't like was she's just afraid of losing power. Her first concern wasn't about race. It was about she's afraid of losing power. Well, what does that mean? It means that they're trying to use this situation to gain power, which is why this is a power game. That's all this is. All they do is use race in order to gain power. That is it. And we always need to keep this in mind because I know it can be a little confusing sometimes because it's called critical race theory. And so you think it's about race, but it really has nothing to do with race at all. It has nothing to do with it. It's only about them utilizing every circumstance they can, every opportunity they can in order to gain power. And if you start looking at every one of these situations, every woke situation as they are trying to gain more power, you can start to see very easily exactly how they're doing it and why they do the things they do. And what is their ultimate goal? Pop quiz for people in the chat. What is the ultimate goal that these people have? Let's see if you guys have been paying attention. I'll be looking for your answers. Why are they trying to gain so much power? What do they want to do with it?
The person in the mirror. She knows that if she looks in the mirror and sees that wretched racism, that, horrible anti-Blackness that's deep down in her soul, she's going to be devastated. And
okay, yes, Adrian got it. Destabilize the system. They're trying to destabilize the system. They're trying to break apart the country. They are doing a little revolution, cultural revolution, destroy the system, tear down the system. That is exactly correct. You've got to start looking at every woke thing that happens as they're trying to tear down the system so they can rebuild it in their own little Marxist image. That's exactly what they're doing.
Believe it or not, when I ask them to do this exercise, literally, I say, you need to get a box. You need to go down into the dungeon of your soul and trust and believe down there are piles and piles and piles of anti-Blackness. You need to go down there and pick up one pile. You need to bring it up, put it in your box, bring it upstairs, put it on the table, sort that stuff out one by one, look at it, own it, and then figure out how you're going to eradicate it, how you're going to get rid of it. Don't tell me that it's not there. I know that it's down there. And so that lady is afraid. She's afraid to have to look in the mirror to see the ugliness of what is really inside of her. And it's that anti-Blackness and it's white woman violence.
Yeah, it's really sad. And I think you articulated it well. And to your point, as far as like losing power, the mostly male legislators in states across this country have been responding to those tears. They have been coming to the rescue. Governor in Oklahoma just signed into law the anti-critical race theory in the curriculum there. Tennessee, I believe the governor is on his way. Both of the state legislatures have passed them. And now it's on its way to the governor's desk, I believe, if it has not already been signed. States, not only that, school boards across this country have been banning, all across the country have been banning critical race theory in the curriculum. So when white women, and I have to preface this, before working for any national organization, I was a Black mother impacted by the racism and anti-Blackness in education, in preschool, when it came to my baby, when it came to my son. I organized other Black mothers. I organized other Black folks in general in Ohio, or red, so-called red state, all that, right? Republicans, all of that. And I organized, and I just saw how hard it is, how we were not believed, how people didn't care, just the nonchalantness to our tears about the violence that was happening to our 3-year-olds, literally babies, being expelled from preschool, right? And how we had to organize and really fight hard. Some of my parents, some of these Black women were losing their jobs, Catrice, because their babies.
Okay, I can't deal with her. I'm sorry. I cannot deal with the soliloquy.
Listen,
I'm sorry. I can't deal with the soliloquy. It's not relevant to anything.
Months for these people to ban critical race theory because of the tears of the white mothers coming to the school boards, starting organizations, being funded for Black mothers. Come on.
Do these people think that they're okay? She thinks that these are well-funded organizations that are fighting for these laws. I'm sorry, what?
Come on now.
Listen, I believe you, and I believe you because I fought for my son's dignity.
That GoFundMe, that $127,000 GoFundMe is more than Gabrielle Clark has raised for her GoFundMe by a not insignificant amount. Who are all these white women that are funding all these things? That's what I want to know. Where are they, and why aren't they donating to Gabrielle Clark's fundraiser?
And his humanity from preschool to 2 days before he graduated high school. I know the fight. I believe you. I know exactly what you and those mothers have had to do just to get the bare minimum for your kids. Not anything exceptional or out of the ordinary, just the bare minimum of decency and dignity and humanity. So I believe it 100%. But know this, white women have been, and they always are, the gatekeepers to the school to prison pipeline. They're the ones at the gate saying, come on in. They're the ones right behind the kids, pushing them in. You know, every time they write something, every time they document something, every time they refer that kid, you know, to the principal or to the counselor, or whoever it is that they refer them to.
I'm still waiting to be given a stern talking to for what a horrible white woman I am. I feel very disappointed in this. I was really looking forward to being told what an awful human being I am. And now the only thing that I know is that I apparently use my tears to get my way. That's it? That's all you're going to give me? There's no grievance? There's nothing you want help with? Like, you've already got your $127,000 GoFundMe, so you're good and you just want to like yell at white people for crying? Is that what it is?
You know, they're creating the path. They're opening the door. They're pushing our kids through because, you know, I don't know the exact number, but I'm estimating that, you know, that teachers are, in regards to teachers, about 80% of them are white women.
Oh, it's more nationally. Yeah, it's a little bit higher, but white women, like the police, have a monopoly on the teaching profession, as well as white men having a monopoly on the policing.
I was just going to say, I'm pretty sure that white women don't have a monopoly on the policing, but she clarified. All right, guys, I want to let you know, so we're going to do call-ins in a little bit if anyone wants to call in. If you don't want to call in, that's fine too, but we're going to finish this up, then I'm going to do some call-ins, which are you're only going to have access to it on my YouTube channels, because it's just easier to do it that way. So if you're watching on Rockfin or Odyssey right now, you can come over to one of my 2 YouTube channels, and you can find the call-in information there when I'm ready to post it. But if you guys want to call in and chat, we'll do call-ins in about 15 minutes when we're done this, to see if anyone wants to chat about anything interesting, because why the heck not? What else do I have to do?
Right. And they're the social workers.
And both of them, social workers too, but both of them are killing us in different ways. Teachers are killing the spirits of Black children in these schools.
Emotionally abusive every day. And it, you know,
wait, teachers are killing the spirits of Black children in these schools? Is that what we're talking about? Okay.
Well, as white men having a monopoly on the policing.
I'm gonna write that timestamp down.
And they're the social workers.
Both of them, social workers too, but both of them are killing us in different ways. Teachers are killing the spirits of Black children in these schools.
Emotionally abusive every day. And it, you know, imagine that we send our kids into these school systems.
You know what? Fine. Then let's just defund the schools and call it a day. Can we just defund the schools then? If these horrible white progressive teachers are killing the spirit of students in schools, can we just defund the schools then and call it a day, or do education freedom accounts, or do whatever the heck, so you can send your students to whatever schools you want to send them to, and we can all be free and live life and be happy, and no one will be spirit murdered in school by progressive white liberal women teachers? Can we just defund the schools already? It seems like we have the same goal.
We send our kids into these school systems in agreement with allowing them to abuse our kids. And I say agreement because we don't always have another option. We don't have our own schools. We don't have enough.
You know what I think would fix this problem entirely? School choice. I think that school choice would be a perfect solution to this problem. I think that we should stop putting our tax dollars, the blood money that's collected on the blacks of oppressed Black people in this society. I think we should stop putting them into these public schools that are only spirit murdering Black children. We should do school choice, defund the schools, give you the money, you send your kids exactly where you want them to go, or homeschool them. You have the resources to do that. I think that defunding the public schools would be a perfect solution for every single one involved. Who is in favor of it? Type Y into the chat if you are in favor of defunding the schools.
Enough of our own schools. And so we know we have to send our babies to these schools, to these wretched white women who are doing a psychological act of terror on our children. I've actually created a course, a 4-week course for teachers specifically on how.
If you guys don't think this is getting clipped, you aren't paying attention. I'm DMing this to Corey DeAngelis as soon as we get off this stream. This is gold.
How to I say less because I don't believe it ever can be. I don't believe that it can ever be fully eradicated. How to be less anti-Black to our kids when they're in your presence.
What has the response been to that, dealing with teachers? And I know, like, before we end, I want you to please tell people how they, number one, can support your work, right? Resource it. Mm-hmm. Number two, I want you to tell people, where can they find you, right? If there's white women watching this, how do they join?
Absolutely.
Yes. How do we join?
Especially these teachers, because we're education, as you know, education platform.
Right.
So we have a lot of educators, parents, all kinds of people who are interested in this racial justice in education. So definitely those three things you have to share, because I already know people are going to want to know.
Well, thank you for that. But one of the first things I'd like to say is that we got to stop this foolery and this facade in the education system, and actually in all of the systems, that, inclusion and equity is the path to go. It is not. One of the things that I say is that diversity is dead and inclusion is an illusion. We're not going to get anywhere with those strategies, with those teachings, with those trainings, with those workshops.
You are teaching today. We got to drop your Cash App because you dropped too much science. I'm serious. This is science.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We got to go straight to the jugular. We got to go straight to anti-racism, period. That's it. Then after we do enough anti-racism work within these systems and organizations, then we can circle back around to diversity and inclusion. I get people who call me all the time, Catrice, can you come and do a inclusion or an equity this? No, I turn it down and I tell them, don't ask me for that. Now, however, if you want to do anti-racism work and you want to commit to working a year with me, then we can talk. I'm not doing anything for less than a year. I'm just finishing up a year with a nonprofit in Milwaukee, and we are just getting started. It took a year to get the momentum going, to finally get them. But I will say that this organization has committed and is doing the work to becoming an anti-racist organization, which is remarkable as far as I'm concerned. It's probably the only nonprofit in the state of Milwaukee who's committed to doing the work. And so you asked the question about how is this, course going for teachers? Well, I'll be honest and say it's not something that I've pushed really hard because it's new. I've only been offering it for the last year, but I'm getting more, Spirit is leading me more to say, you need to start helping, stop this violence that's happening against our babies. And that's happening in preschool and K through 12 and on up. So I hope to push that a little bit more. I have had quite a few people go through that course and are very grateful for the insight that they received from it. And,
all right, guys, we got maybe about 5 minutes left in this webinar. So what I'm going to do is, if you want to do a call-in, I'm going to drop the link to join in the chats right now. And so you guys can call in. You don't have to come on video if you don't want to, but you do need your audio to be working. We can talk about whatever subject you want. There are rules for call-in, which I will go over when we start. But I'm going to drop the link into the chat now. So if you guys want to get ready to come call into the stream and have a little chat with me for like 5 minutes or, less or more, depending on how it goes, you can do that in the stream. Or we can get ready to go for when this is over. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat now that you can follow.
I don't have a way to quantify how it's actually affecting, how things are happening in the schools, but it's a start.
Schools have been closed for a year and it's been online. So,
Right.
that's also a part of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So But anyway, absolutely. If there are white folks watching, or if you know white women who are interested in getting on this journey, my main website is catriceology.com. And then if they want to attend an in-person workshop, She Talks, We Talk, they can go to shetalkswetalk.com. And also there's a tab on that website for the Socially Conscious Women's Collective, which is the cohort that I lead, helping white women navigate their anti-racism journey.
Those are being dropped in the comments for all of our viewers and listeners. And we can also make sure we include that in the description later as well on the video. So the Catriceology website is being shared. And we certainly also have the She Talks, We Talk website being shared as well with everyone, so that people, who are interested, particularly if there's teachers who are interested in that course that you designed, that's critical. I sure wish those white teachers who was pathologizing my son when he was 3 years old, if they're still teaching, oh Lord, they need to take this course.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine how many other Black children and Black boys whose parents who didn't understand or did not know that what they were being told was wrong about their children. Like, I can't imagine how many Black children have been put into the pipeline, the prison from those, as you say, wretched. Just wretched. How could you look at a 3-year-old and pathologize him already? A baby. Because of the humanity in me, I don't look at even white. I could not do a white child the way that white teachers are doing Black children every single day in this country.
School choice. Defund the schools. We have the same goal. Those teachers should stop abusing students. We agree. Let's defund the schools. We can all come together around this plan.
Every single day.
And that's why
humanity wouldn't allow me.
That's why I say my work helps them find their humanity for the first time. Isn't it ironic that they look at us as less as human, but when we look at the historical violence of whiteness, who's really inhumane?
Wow.
Anytime you can hang somebody from a tree, cut off.
All right. We're not going to describe a lynching on the channel. All right, that's all we have, guys. I've got some glorious clips. I'm going to clip from that a little bit later. But what I want to do right now is I want to do some call-ins. And call-ins are basically a time when, you get to come on the stream. We get to have a little bit of a conversation. I already see some people lining up to call into the stream. Now, I just want to remind everyone, so if you would like to support the work I'm doing, if you enjoyed the stream today, and I know it's a little bit different than usual. It was a little bit of a weird thing. The first one was weird. I don't even know what to say. But if you want to support the work I'm doing, the first thing you need to do is mount that like button. The second thing you need to do is to make sure you are a member of my Locals community. You can join Locals for free at kb.locals.com. But if you want to support the work I'm doing, you can become a monthly supporter or an annual supporter. And that opens up all of the features and gives you access to everything. So monthly is $5 a month. Annual is $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. And Locals is awesome. We have a community Zoom call tomorrow at noon Eastern time. So if you join today, you're going to be able to come in, join our community Zoom, and we'll have a great old time. All right. So I see 4 people in line for call-ins so far. If you want to call into the stream, I have pinned the call-in link at the top of both Actively Unwoke and also my main YouTube channel. So you can click on either of those. It'll bring you to the same place. We have 4 people in line right now. In order, I see Janice Zeal, Sarah, Casper, and Miguel. That's the order that we're going to go in. Anyone who joins will join after them. Now, we do have a couple rules for call-ins. Number 1, you are invited onto the stream as my guest. I reserve the right to boot your ass off the stream at any time for any reason at my discretion. Rule number 2, be polite, and you have a significantly lower chance of being unexpectedly booted from the stream. You are allowed to come on and disagree with me. You are allowed to come on and think I'm a horrible person or whatever the heck, but just be polite about it and I won't boot you from the stream. Number 3, each caller who follows the first 2 rules will get a couple minutes to have a conversation with me. I can extend the time if I feel like I want to and the conversation is interesting, but generally we like to keep these pretty short so that everyone can have a turn. And let's get started with Janice Zeal. Hey, Janice.
Hey,
how are you today?
I'm alive and well. What about yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's a typical Wednesday.
Yeah, it's pretty warm here, so I got my AC on. I apologize for the background noise, but I don't want to be turned into a peach cobbler. Things are going way too well for me. I got a potential job offer from my janitorial lead staff supervisor label thing.
Yay!
She's also an MMA fighter, so I've seen her fight. So that's cool. She's talked to me a number of times about appropriate out of work stuff.
Well, you don't want to piss off an MMA fighter. That would probably go very badly for you.
Yeah, no. She thinks I'm cool. She actually thinks autistic people are cool. So she wants more of us on the team.
Excellent. Well, I think autistic people are very cool too. What I've said is, like, if everyone else hates me, but the people on the spectrum like me, I'll take it as a win.
I'm only gonna hate you if you actually start attacking myself or people like me, and you're not like that. You remind me of that. You remind me of a person that's probably as old as my dad, who wrote.
I am not as old as your dad.
Who was riding on Metro Mobility alongside me, and we started chatting. And no, you're not. Actually, I was gonna say that one person complimented you by saying you looked about 25. I'd say closer to 20.
Thank you. I don't know if I want to look that young. I want to look old enough to drink.
I still get carded for them to make sure that I'm over 21 or whatever. Because at the barcade, when we were allowed to go out and do stuff, I'd go to the barcade, play some of my old favorite arcade games, and then get a glass of wine. And they were the home's fine with it, unless as long as the staff aren't drinking like sieves in front of us.
Yeah, that would probably be bad. All right.
But anyway, he told me that he hopes that all of people like me that are actually functioning, and I know everyone hates functioning labels. I do too, because my functioning is variable. He wants us all to be able to get jobs, because I always say the big Republican thing. I don't think they hate people with disabilities, but they oftentimes don't like us being on SSDI.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to, like, making sure you're in the right jobs for you, because I know there are organizations, I believe that Walgreens is one of them, that actually has whole divisions just around hiring people with autism or different disabilities, just because there are things that you can do really, really well, like much better than like people like me. And
yeah,
so
things that our brains are suited to do and that we like doing. Like when I worked for Medtronic, and I wish I was wearing my Medtronic t-shirt because I always feel pride with that. When I worked for Medtronic, all I did all day was put labels on literature, but that literature was going out to help surgeons. So I was doing what I thought was maybe a little part of something that was really big. That's quantum physics. That's the observer principle.
That's exactly right.
That's what I said at the interview when they asked me a question like that. I laid down some quantum mechanics and I got the job. Well, you want to hear what happened with me in the cleaning business real quick?
Sure.
I show up to the interview with a suit on underneath a Taco Cat costume. I can get you the pictures. I had a real legit business suit. I looked like kind of a Hispanic Donald Trump Jr. I am Latino, by the way. I'm not afraid to say that.
You are not oppressed.
No. Oppressors, push a ball down underwater. It will try to escape, and it may win over gravity. So the more like in my parlance, it's like the more the county tries to pull crap on me, the more I resist back. So oppress me all you want. It's just giving me fuel for the fire.
Well,
fuel, give me fire, give me all that I desire.
Well, there you go, Janice. Well, we'll look forward to hearing more about how that goes for you. All right.
Well, don't worry, I got my debit card back, so I will be getting the hair soon.
Good.
Don't listen to Carlin. She has social justice hair. Oh. Me on the other side of the monitor. What the hell is social justice hair?
Apparently, it's the haircut that I had that the conservatives don't like. But you have it too.
Yeah, I know. Why aren't they dissing me, huh?
Exactly.
Are they a bunch of legitimate misogynists or what?
Oh, I would say yes, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Right, sorry.
All right, well, we're gonna move on now, Janice, but thanks for being my first call-in.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for letting me in. See you later.
Bye. All right, everyone. Looks like we have 4 people in queue right now, and I just want to let people know we have Sarah Nicholas is going to be next, Casper, Miguel, and then Retro Chris is up at the end. Sarah, how's it going?
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, great. Tired, but good. I'm in New Zealand for those who don't know, so yeah, well ahead of you guys. It's a great place.
You're calling from the future.
Yeah, I do say that. It's one of my common phrases I'm always talking about. I'm sort of going to talk a bit about the positive side of all this critical race theory, not the theory itself, by the way.
Obviously.
Here's my thing. I think that what we need to do is X for boys, we've got to support them. We've got to support Gabby. We've got to support all of these people. So, you know, this. I always say we've got it. There's always a silver lining in something, even if the critical race theory is bullcrap. Let's see. Okay, what's the opposite to this? What? How can we get out and actually, you know? And that's why I'm excited about your book that's coming out next year, which is. Damn it, I wish it was earlier. I want it now. But I will.
I know, what can you do?
Who knows? I mean, if we get enough people going thumbs up to it, they could actually say, oh, we need, you know, let's get 100,000 people already saying yes to it so you can get what is it, platinum or whatever it is.
Well, they'd have to put me on the New York Times bestseller list if we did that.
Oh, I'm gonna make damn sure it does, because it's seriously. I mean, it's as I say. Everyone says, "Oh, I can't do anything." It's a load of rubbish.
Yeah,
it really is. One person can change the world. That's what Mother Teresa did. One person at a time, and it's the same. Everybody has somebody they know that whatever it is, whether it's giving to X for boys, $5 each week. It doesn't really matter. Or to put not Patrice, God, and giving it to Gabby and her son with the absolute. Yeah, well, anyhow, and I'm on a benefit, by the way. Giving New Zealand dollars as often as I can is a struggle, but I tell you, it's for a good cause. So, and it's the same. Yeah, as I say, that's how I see it. But what do you think?
Well, I think you're doing a great thing, Sarah, by making sure you're giving when you can and making sure you can. And, you know, I think, you know, you're presenting a good example for everyone else. And you're right. Like one person can make a difference. And, you know, the book that Sarah's talking about, for anyone who doesn't know, I literally just finished it and sent it into the publisher the other day at 4 a.m. And it's a book about how to fight back in different areas of your life, provides highly practical experience. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it as we move towards publication. And I'm going to be releasing some of the content leading up to it. We're going to talk about some of the content as a little preview
is that
to entice
question
people.
about that? I've been onto the website. Is that connected?
It will be. Yes, it will be. It will be. It's not built out yet. I'm working on building it out.
Okay.
So there
so
is
the sealed lips. Okay, we'll wait and see.
It's okay. It's just not done yet. So I was building it out before I started writing the book, and then I kind of put it on the back burner so I could get the book done. But we're gonna have a website. We're gonna have I'm gonna try to build an app. I have an idea for an app if I can get my stuff together. But the website is number one. Then I want to do an app. I want to gamify fighting back. I think it's gonna be really a lot of fun. But yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff around it. Yeah,
which is good. It'll be, as I say, I mean, I'm actually, I'm Catholic for those who don't know. I mean, you see Our Lady of Guadalupe behind me, for all those Catholics out there, you know that one. But I'm actually writing letters at the moment, one to my own bishop, another to the Bishop of Rome, and another to Bishop Callahan with the Father Altman situation. So I am doing, you know, in my own sphere and in what affects me, I am actually doing things. So it's, as I say, it's small, but it you know, many people do that. And by the way,
oh, did Sarah freeze? Oh no, we may have lost her. But Sarah's absolutely right. Like, writing a letter is a great thing anyone can do. Writing an email, getting in touch with people who are making decisions. These things really do matter, guys. And so, don't think that like your voice or your letter or your phone call or your email is just gonna go nowhere, because you never know. All right. Oh no, Ron Popeil died. Oh no. Well, I'm going to take Sarah off the stream. Sarah, I'm sorry. It looks like we've lost you. Rebecca says Ron Popeil died. Oh no, the infomercial guy died. That's so sad. That's so sad. I had a food dehydrator because of him. But thank you, Sarah, for joining the stream. And we'll move on to the next one. All right. Looks like we have Casper up next. What's up, Casper?
This is the audition for Project Veritas, right? Okay.
No.
Hello.
Hello, Casper. What's going on?
I'm chilling. Been checking you out. Good stream today. I mean, the first part was kind of dry, but the second part was spicy as fuck.
We made up for it.
Excuse me. Yeah, it was cool. I've just been thinking, about the big disparity of perception among people in the different socioeconomic classes. Like, I've lived below the poverty level my whole entire life, generational white poverty, Oklahoma City. And, I've lived among all races, all types of people. Back in the 80s when I was a teenager, rite of passage was I went to the local all ages gay club and hung out because I liked techno music. I've always been different. And I just don't understand all these narrow perceptions by people in the mid to upper middle class whites that don't hang out with different cultures, and when they do, it's always pretentious bullshit people. I don't know. There's a disparity in nuance. Everybody's generalizing each other in order to dehumanize so we can play this combat game. It's stupid.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I agree with you in the sense that I think that we need to acknowledge that everyone has different life experiences, and fundamentally some people come from more advantageous backgrounds and some people come from more disadvantageous backgrounds. And I think that, that doesn't really have anything to do with what color you happen to be born. You can come from a disadvantageous background and be born white and be a man and be all of the things that they say about power.
I really think that we're not having the discussions about culture. Like, everybody's like, what is white culture? There are things that are considered white culture. It's all regional though. What's white culture in New Hampshire is different than what's white culture in Oklahoma. And Black people have their own culture. We're not looking at that. We're calling cultural differences racial differences. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why we don't deal with what's underneath. We're only dealing with what's on the surface. It bothers me.
Well, and that's why I think we need to focus on individualism, meritocracy, things like that. Like, what actually makes a person, who they actually are on the inside, not looking at how they present on the outside, because that doesn't tell you a whole heck of a lot.
I'm a firm believer in meritocracy and individuality. I'm a different person. I like all kinds of weird niche interests, and I live in my laundry room and I live my life. I just want to be left alone. And meritocracy, I don't believe that anybody should get anything that they didn't earn legitimately. I certainly know that if I wanted something in life, I should have worked harder for it. And there's always a chance at some kind of success, but it's only going to mean something if you get it honestly, in my personal opinion. But anyway, that's all I got to say.
I agree with you. Well, thank you for calling in, Casper. Always nice to see you.
You're one of my favorite people, and I will always follow you. So be cool.
Thank you, Casper. Have a good one. All right, everyone. It looks like we have 4 people in line for call-ins right now. If you'd like to call in and chat with me on the stream for a little bit, you are welcome to click the link that is pinned to the top of the chat on my YouTube channel, and that'll bring you right in. You don't have to come on camera, but you do have to have a microphone so I can hear you. Let's see. In order, we have coming up, we have Miguel, who's been making faces in the stream, so we're going to see how that goes next. After Miguel, we have Retro Chris, then we have Brittany, and then we have Randy. Miguel, welcome to the stream.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. You're going to behave yourself, right?
Yeah,
I was
of
watching
course.
what you were doing. Okay, okay.
No, I'm like, I have like a guitar and like a couple laptops and my shit like set up, so I'm kind of like standing in front of it. I kept saying things like commenting, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't hear you till I pull you on the stream, but I knew you were having a good old time.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before. So until I pull you up on the stream, I can't hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's going on? What do you want to talk about?
Anything that you really want to talk about. I mean, I can talk. Like, I'm a Mainer. I know that's a big deal.
Oh, right. That's right. You're from Maine. Okay. How's the weather up in Maine?
Don't try to catch me in any, like, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll tell you what's going on around here. Like, honestly.
Okay, what's going on?
Lockdown. No, I'm just saying, like, about lockdown, CRT. It's summertime. We're a tourist state, so people, do you know what I mean? Like, come up here to do tourist type stuff. So we are an actual, like, pretty big economy if you think about it from New England, you know? Like, I'm a heavy metal guy. My family, though, my brother owns a house in Naples. My mother lives in Raymond, but owns a camp over like across town. I'm in Bridgeton. My sister has a place in Wyndham.
So you guys are all over the place.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that's like the area. Like Cumberland County, you have Augusta, which is like the capital, I guess. Is Augusta the capital of Maine? Do you know anything about like history?
I think so. I think it is.
geography?
I was in the capital of Maine, so like about a year ago for a Trump rally.
I know. You're up here. Yeah. But I'm in Cumberland County, Portland, Maine.
Okay. Is there anything going on up there that we should know about?
Not
Is there
really.
any critical race theory being taught in the schools?
I never hear anything about Maine being like mentioned on any of the stuff. To tell you the truth, though, I feel like we're like a 2A state, a gun state. Like we're in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? People come up here to go hunting.
Yeah. Well, you guys got to get a better senator than Susan Collins, though. I don't like Susan Collins.
I hate
shifty.
her. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, see, that's the thing. I don't know exactly what you want to talk about. Yeah. I mean, I watch everything. You know what I mean? I see like InfoWars, like I watch that shit and like.
We're not going to talk about that. I don't want to get another strike on my channel. We're not going to talk about whatever Alex Jones is talking about on InfoWars. I don't want to get in trouble.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Like, I would like to do these. I do guitar music. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I draw and I like do different things. Like, this is a whole, you're like an artist.
Oh.
Don't you think?
Sometimes, yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah. It's a performance.
So, you have
it's a
to,
character.
Huh?
It's a performance and a character.
Yeah.
It is.
So, basically what I'm saying is around the world, there's tons of pockets of areas, just people like that. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like we're more like abstract. Like, I'm a lefty. Like I'm a left-handed person. Like but I draw right-handed. I play baseball right-handed, I guess, like batting and catching and, you know, but, there's certain people, man, like there's different intelligences, you know?
I agree with you. And I think it's
like,
best. I think it's best with this stuff too, is like, I really started trying to approach it as art, you know, several, like at the end of last year, because it was less soul sucking, honestly, if I approached it as art than it was like I tried to approach my book as writing it as like an art project. I know that might sound silly to people who don't understand, who don't think like that, but I totally tried to, like, you know, put myself in a character. What would this, like, if I was playing this role in this movie, what would this person do? What would they think? How would they approach problems? Things like that. So to try to be more artful about the solutions than just, you know, running straight at it.
So then we ask ourselves, like, so how far do you go into that, right? As an average person who we could write the next best movie. We could write the next best paper. We could write the next best song. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because like one of the things that really like I struggled with this time was I feel like I put myself so much in a character of being like a fighter that it got to me after a while, and I started getting angry and I started getting pissed, and you know, I'll flat out own it. I have not been in a good mood for like a month, and I think it's part of it was I got so into this character that I was playing to write the book that it started manifesting everywhere.
Strange. See, I caught you. I fucking, excuse my language. Believe me, I understand. I get censored, and I'm not even, all I do is share other people's shit.
Uh-oh.
This point, I have a band. I used to be in a band. Like me, who have lived their lives and they've worked towards like a certain goal artistically. They're like, like, because it changes everything. Like what you're doing right now, whatever you had going on before, it's different now.
Right, because the book is done.
I mean, you're a talk show host
the book is done.
in a way, but you're not. But
yeah.
Yeah, but do you see what I'm saying? Like you have certain like aspects of that in your life, like, you know, but you're not that. You're like a social activist, is what I would say. If I, you know what I mean? To
I guess
generally, it's so hard to generally describe people to other people nowadays. You know what I mean?
I
like,
totally
hey,
get
to
it.
my social activist friend Carol, you know, and most people are like, social activist, you know, whatever you call someone. Like, no, she's like a. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
guess,
Miguel,
right?
I totally get what you're
I
saying,
like
but
your
your
colors, your sparkles.
Thank you. Your connection's a little janky, so we're gonna move on for
Totally
today.
different. But right, my subject matter.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on for today
I'll
just
talk
because
to
your
you.
connection's a little janky. But we'll do this again sometime. All right. All right. Thank you, Miguel, for that. All right, guys, we have 3 more people in line to call in right now. If you want to get in line to call in, please click the link at the top of the chat. We have Retro Chris, and then we have Brittany, and then we have Randy. Retro Chris, welcome to the stream.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good, because I could barely hear Miguel. He sounded like he was on another planet, so I'm glad.
Yeah, the connection was a little janky, but your sounds very good.
Okay, good. Well, I was kind of seething a little bit watching the ladies you were showing, and I'll try to make this point succinctly as possible. Geographically, I live 20 minutes away from and an hour from 2 urban school districts. One of them, the students, about 80-85% Black students. Teachers are over 50% or over are white. And the other district is a mix of, you know, Caucasian would be in the minority there too. And they are begging for teachers and they can't get them. So where are these women who are doing these webinars and are college educated? Where are they when they need tutors for ACTs for these kids in this urban school to catch them up so they can graduate literate? They're graduating kids and they can't read at an even 6th grade level.
Oh, yeah.
So they're tearing down white teachers. Teachers are forced to retire at 70. My husband is close to 50, and his reading teacher from when he was in grade school came out of retirement to offer her services to tutor these kids. Where are these educated Black women, instead of charging for their webinars, actually making a difference with these kids and making them equal by getting tutoring them?
You know, the thing of it is, it's not about that. Again, that's not what their goal is. You're working off of the premise that their goal is to create a more fair and just society in which people can just go out and get a job and do all the things they need to do. That's not what their goal is. And this is why it's so important for people to understand that you have to start with the premise that their goal is to destabilize the system, and they're trying to get as much power and influence as they can in order to destabilize the system. What is the easiest way to destabilize the system but to have an uneducated populace who can't think critically and just take whatever they're told because they don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, they don't know how to process this information because they were never taught that in schools. This is all part of a very deliberate plan that all leads up to destabilization of the system.
You are absolutely right. Because I'm thinking, well, they could join Big Brothers, Big Sisters. There's too many things they could do. But you're right. They don't want to. They just want the glory, and they want to be publicly oppressed at all times. Because, and then if they're saying it's a white woman's fault, well, where are they making, they want to make sure Black women have food for their babies. Then why aren't they holding the Black men accountable to do that for their own children? And it's called the welfare system that already exists, but you're right. They don't care about these kids.
Yeah. No, and that's the truth. And I mean, to be frank, there are a lot of programs that have existed in, school districts that are made up of all sorts of different populations that would have actually helped in these situations. I always come back to this program that was in inner city schools in Baltimore several years ago, teaching kids how to meditate, teaching kids how to take responsibility for their mood and how they were treating people. And when kids got in trouble, they didn't go to detention. They didn't get suspended. They went to the meditation room and they realized how to work through their own nonsense. Like, I would support programs like that every single day of the week. But these anti-racist people, they don't want programs like that. They don't want to teach students how to read them, no matter what the race of the student is. They don't want to teach them how to do math. They don't want to teach them how to write. They only want to do this anti-racist education stuff. And we saw that in the first video, right? They built their entire facilities plan not around what was going to best educate the students, best prepare them for the real world, but what was going to support critical race theory.
Right. And the other thing is, so many of these teachers can't teach because they're social workers. Their kids can't learn. They get in fights because they're hungry. They come in clothing that hasn't been washed in a week, and they provide these things. They bring clothes for their students. And these parents aren't stepping up. Some of them, I'm sure, are very poor and have problems. But it's like, oh God, it just don't even get me started. It's terrible what they do to these children, and they could really step up. So if white women or white men saw a problem and they wanted to step up and do it, that's a real problem. They should look at that. Where's our own community stepping up,
Yeah, I mean, and I think that everyone generally, I think that, in the real world where people just generally want to support each other regardless of race, because I don't think it should be about just like, Black people supporting Black kids and white people supporting white kids. I mean, we should be supporting everyone. But again, like, that's not how the discussion is being framed. But I do think that we need to start looking at it as just like, how do we support people? I think as much as possible with the position that, like, people like you and I are in, we need to take race and supporting people, like, we need to take it out of the discussion entirely. Because since the left is framing everything in terms of race, we need to do a really good job to make sure we're focusing on a color indifferent world based in individualism and meritocracy. And race simply does not need to be part of the equation. Can we look at what's happened throughout history? Of course we can. Can we talk about how to make sure everyone has equal access to all of the opportunities that are available? Of course we can. But I think as much as possible, we need to make sure we're not focusing on race as much in the discussion.
Yeah, and I look for the day where ethnicity or race can be used as a descriptor of somebody and it doesn't matter for hiring or anything like that. It's just another thing about a person that is part of the whole. That's all it is.
I agree. Are you in favor of defunding the public schools, Retro Chris?
I would really like to see happen here is the voucher system where parents can walk to any school they want, as long as any school they want, and take the money with them. That's what I would like to see.
Awesome. Well, I think that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, we're fighting that now. The school board's against it. Surprise. And in fact, the school board that's against it is the school board that's having a problem with rats and mold and little kids wearing their winter coats in the winter. So they really are not for children.
Well, they usually aren't. So you got to get new people elected to the school board then.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll make room for the next caller, but I did write some comments in the locals, and I could not believe that that lady quoted my big fat Greek wedding in that webinar. So that's a whole nother story.
She did. Well, thank you for joining us for Collins today. We'll talk soon, all right?
Okay, thanks.
Bye. All right. All right. We've got 3 more callers in line for right now. And we got the super chat from Naruto. The left's talking point of systemic racism is convincing Black Americans not to get the COVID shot. Huh. That's an interesting perspective. All right. We've got Brittany, we've got Randy, and then we've got Natalie. Brittany, welcome to the stream.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. So I wanted to give you, I called in last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to give you an update about my son's school. All my kids. I guess my daughter's going to be in 1st grade.
All right.
Anyways, so I emailed the principal, and she's still trying to assure me that they're not teaching critical race, even though what you've said, because they used equity and have the equity committee.
Yes.
She did not give me any information on that. And so I'm kind of wondering the best way to go about this, like, and I wanted to ask you permission, like, if I need to, can I use some of your like clips of you like explaining some of this to them?
Yeah, of course. You're always welcome to use my clips for, whatever value they may hold. But I will say, so this is a public school, right?
It is. And does
right.
that mean like it is with like it's within the government type of thing?
Yes, exactly. So anytime you see public school, this is a government funded school. It is our tax dollars are paying for this school. You have a right to know what is going on in this school. Okay, so if they have a diversity committee or they have an equity committee of some sort, you have a right to know what they are doing with your taxpayer dollars. And so you can file a right to know request, like freedom of information or whatever, however it works in your state. So you have to look at like how it works there. But you can essentially like fill out a form and make sure you're specifying what information you want to know. If you want to know what the charge of this equity committee is, that's a very fair question. What is this equity committee charged with? Where are their meeting minutes? What are they working on? What are their goals? What any documents related to this equity committee at all? That is your right to know this information.
Okay.
That's how I would frame it. Because if you know they have an equity committee, like put aside is critical race theory being taught for a second, because that's a lot harder to pin down with how they frame it. But if they have an equity committee, there's going to be a charge for that equity committee, which is like why the committee exists. They should have meeting minutes documented and publicly available. There should be all sorts of documents related to that committee.
Okay. Yeah, none of that's up yet, but they've said they've had it since 2018, which this is the first time we're all hearing about it.
So what I would do is I would file a right to know request with the school to force them to give you this documentation.
Okay. That sounds good. And then I just wanted to make one quick comment. So my grandma, bless her heart, she's 85 years old, and she is still a substitute teacher. So she does go in because, like the last person was saying, where are all these teachers? It's not even about the color, but it's just like my grandma does go into these schools that are low poverty, low income schools. It's frustrating because I hear her talk about it and it breaks her heart because she knows a lot of the families are broken. The kids come in there and she's like, they come in and they're so like wound up, and by the end of the day, we've got them finally calmed down and they're very respectful, very nice. They're all raising their hand, they're talking, they're not fighting anymore. She's like, and then they go home and it's just like the problems seep back in and they come in the next day. It's just like, my biggest thing is, and I said, Grandma, I said, that's the system's doing right there.
Yeah.
I said, that's the system.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, would you want to teach in the public schools right now? I sure as heck wouldn't. To be really honest, I wouldn't do it. They're driving all the good teachers away. All they're going to have left are people who are doing equity nonsense.
Hang on 1 second.
Brittany, is there anything else for today? Yeah.
Sorry, I lost you for a second.
Oh, is there anything else for today?
No, I'll just let you go. My headset just died and came back on, so I'll let you go for this time, and I'll keep you updated on where the school stands.
Absolutely. Get your right to know request in. And again, target that equity committee, because if they have an official committee, it is their obligation to publish what is going on.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much for all your help.
Thank you. Have a
All right.
good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. We have 2 more call-ins for right now. If you want to call in, now's the time because I'm going to take the link down. So if you want to call in, now is the time to click the link at the top of the chat on either of my YouTube channels, and you can pop right into the stream and have a chat with me. We're going to go to Randy, and then Natalie will be after Randy. Randy, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, Carlin?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to thank you for all the work you're doing. It's super important.
Thank you.
And I enjoy watching your show. And I guess I had one question. I don't want to sound too tinfoil hat, but it does kind of sound like the CCP is funding the CRT stuff. So I'm wondering if you think they're prepping us to, they're buying land and they're doing all kinds of things. So
I don't have well, okay, so China is absolutely funding things within the universities, and we can look at like the Confucius centers at any major university, honestly, and that's all money that probably shouldn't be there. So I do think that the CCP is funding a lot of things at universities. I don't know as much about like what's going on in the public schools or where the funding for that is coming from. I have not seen that direct connection yet, though it wouldn't surprise me at all. I think the bigger picture, though, is that I think that China is absolutely thrilled with what's going on in the US because China wants the US to have a destabilized system so they can be the superpower of the world. And I think that anyone that is encouraging this is behaving grossly irresponsibly. I think that, to be honest, I mean, I think we're already in a place where China could like overpower us in about 30 seconds if they wanted to. And that's not a place that I'd necessarily like to be in. And so, I think that they're playing with fire in ways that they really are not comprehending yet. And I think it's mostly because people like Joe Biden are making an awful lot of money on it, and Joe Biden's family is making an awful lot of money on it. So why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I think freedom is the most important thing for the world, and communism is unacceptable. So
it is unacceptable, and we are on the road to it with what's going on. So, hopefully we can turn it back.
Anyways, thanks for everything you're doing. I'm going to head out. So.
All right, Randy. Well, thank you for joining and have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye. All right, guys, we've got one more call in to do for right now, and that is going to be Natalie. Natalie, welcome to the stream.
Hi, Carlin. Do you hear me right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Do you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Because I'm calling from Germany, and I don't know if it's so good, but I'm a big fan, and I'm listening to a lot of American stuff because I used to live in the US, and now we have this CRT stuff creeping into our politics, university. Well, I graduated like 20 years ago, and it was already there, but we didn't have words for it, like SJWs or something. And now it's in politics, and it's really creeping me out.
It's a scary time, Natalie. It really is.
Scary. And I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel because a lot of people here in Germany, they don't know about it. And I've been talking about it, and like already 6 months ago, and people were like, what is she talking about? And Black Lives Matter is a good thing, and it's all about being nice to Black people, and that's it. They don't know the backstory. It's really hard.
Well, one of the things I love the idea of starting a YouTube channel, but I think, one of the ideas that I really liked around that whole concept was I've talked to some people who they never started a YouTube channel with the intent that it would become like, a big thing, like, like, 100,000 subscribers or like whatever. But maybe like starting it so that you can easily communicate with your friends and family and say like on Facebook or something, you post a video that is explaining this stuff. I think the more examples you can get, that's really the key to this, is showing examples, walking people through examples of, how it's showing up in government, how it's showing up in schools, wherever it's showing up, and not even bringing necessarily politics into it. Like, I don't know what your political position is on things, but just say like, here is what's
I don't
happening.
know anymore either.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good idea. I was thinking about that because I'm fighting with my brother at the moment because he is like he always thinks I'm like crazy about things, and then it turns out that I was right, you know? Like this whole CRT stuff. We have politicians now talking about it, and he still doesn't know what it really is. But I told him it's going to come here. You know, if it's happening in the US, you're going to see it 6 months later here in Germany. And yeah, and since the internet, it's going around like crazy. It's even faster now.
I mean, who better to explain it to people than you then?
Yeah, yeah.
If you see what's going on, I mean, it's a simple thing that everyone can do is explain to your friends and family, here's what you're seeing, and showing just really concrete examples and saying, do you think this is okay? Because I don't think this is okay.
Yeah, you're very inspirational. Maybe I should, start small, with little examples. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And let's see from there. And yeah, it was
All
nice
right.
talking to you.
It was
Yeah.
nice talking to you too. Thank you for joining the stream.
Thank you. Yeah.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Have
Good
a
luck.
good day.
Bye. All right, guys, that's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I will be back with another happy hour on Friday. We're going to find a good saucy training to watch. I will be having a couple drinks on Friday because that's the only time I really drink. So we'll be back on Friday with happy hour around 3 p.m. Friday afternoon. Tomorrow I'll just be posting some normal kind of video content. But the best thing you can do for tomorrow is you can come join me in Locals at noon, because we will be doing a community Zoom call in my Locals at noon tomorrow, noon Eastern time. You have to become a member to join, kb.locals.com/support, and that will get you there. And of course, please mount that like button on the way out the door. That's all we've got for right now, guys. We'll see you soon.